Coffee with Keto Simple. My name is Dustin. I'm so glad you're here. This stream will be starting soon, so grab your coffee, get comfortable, and settle in. We're building a strong and supportive community, so say hello in the chat, ask questions, and feel free to use super chats if there's anything that you want to see highlighted. Thank you for being here and being a part of this journey. Let's keep it positive and respectful as we connect and grow together. I can't wait to get started. "15 minutes late. What can I say? I had a last minute appointment with John, if you know what I mean. And, just starting out with TMI. That's what we do here. That's what we do here. Welcome, welcome. Good morning, everyone. Oh, hope you've poured that coffee. You're settled in. I've got my coffee right here. We're just about done with June. Birthdays are done. The month was a lot tougher than I'd like to admit, to be truly honest with you. Did we nail Triple B&E? No, not even close. But, we fell short. But, I mean, here's the thing. There's always tomorrow. And always another sunrise to get back to it, right? Another day. We're never done until we're done. And, I just want to know that, today, I just want this to be real, like no one wants to talk about, nobody likes to talk about the failures. But I think the thing I enjoy most about this community and all of you that join me every Sunday is the fact that you understand that we're real. We understand that if there are influencers out there that are not struggling at some points, if they're not having failures, if they're not being human, if they're not being real, then what's the point? Do we want perfection out of someone? Do we want perfection out of our influencers? Do we want, and I use the term influencer for me very lightly, but I mean, I'm just a guy with a setup and I come and talk to you guys every week, but I don't want someone who's not real. And I don't know how to not be real. That means the flaws, the mistakes, everything all at once, everything all the time, all at once. But let's go ahead and jump into these comments because there's a lot of them and I'm like 30 plus minutes behind. John Gugahan. We love you, John. So glad that you are here, my friend. And the same thing with you, Sean and Michelle. Thank you both for being here. I assume you're both here. Andy is here. Good morning, Andy. And Susan, when you awake to the warm, soothing sounds of my voice, just know that I am sad that I missed your get-together yesterday, your meetup yesterday. I saw a lot of the photos. It looked spectacular. I had a great time with my cousins and my aunts and people that I don't get to see very often. And we'll talk a little bit more about that as well here in a little while. Stacy talking about in the garden with my friends. Damn, you all need to learn how to weed. No, we don't, because I don't care. I remember my grandmother wanted me to weed in the garden with her, and it was like, I don't know, it was torture. And I know that, every kid's kind of like that, I guess, but no. Oh, Susan is already awake. Okay, fantastic. Maybe I just lulled her back to sleep a little bit. Oh, yeah, and Sean is saying that he loves all the photos from the meetup yesterday. And then Andy is saying that Nancy and Amy are still in their rooms upstairs, but Jane and Lisa are packing up to leave this morning. Sleepyheads. I concur. I love being a sleepyhead. Brian Doyle is in the house. Good morning, Brian. Now, with Mr. Brian Doyle being said hello to, I have some coffee in my hand and I haven't had a sip of just yet. Hopefully it's not too cold because I forgot to put the lid on it when I made it this morning and it's been sitting for a while. So it might be a little chilly. So we might go through it faster than normal. It is not cold, but it's not piping hot. It's not a piping hot caffeinated beverage. It is a mildly warm-ish caffeinated beverage. Dear coffee, I love you. So delicious. Andy says, yesterday was awesome. Yesterday was awesome at the meetup. Smaller crowd, but went very well with lots of food still left over. Well, that's always a plus, right? I mean, you want it to be just right. You don't want too many people. You don't want too few people. You want it to be just right. You want to be able to have, a little bit of quality time with everybody who's in attendance. So I think that that's probably just the right size. Brian's like, anyone want to help rip out Carbon? Nope. No. Evil Lynn is here. Good morning, Evil Lynn. Oh, Brian says they're doing the stairs to the basement today. Yuck. Sherry says, good morning. It's gonna need lots of coffee. It's only 4:30 a.m. where she's at. Woo, that's early. You are never just Evelyn. It's always Evelyn. We love you. Yes, Bride's Biscuit is here. Sup, fam? That's what Bride's Biscuit sounds like. She's like, sup, fam? That's what she sounds like. So when I meet her in person, if that's not what she sounds like, I'm going to be highly disappointed. But that's okay if she's not. I'm just making up stuff because I'm weird. That's fine. Andy says we're taking Nancy to the airport this afternoon, so this weekend is still not quite over. And Amy's leaving around noon. That's good because nobody wants to get up and drive all early in the morning and stuff. Jeff is here. And Andy says that we missed our wonderful friends who weren't here. Yeah, I was telling my cousin about that. I was like, I was showing her photos of your guys' meetup, and I was like, this is where I was supposed to be. And but I mean, I took the granddaughter with me, as you do. And Shanda was at work. The kids don't want to go do things like that. They're not in that. That's not what they want to do. And the girl took her about an hour to get into being there and comfortable enough with hanging out with the girls. Because, my cousin, her daughter was a graduation party for her. She's 18 now. That's hard to imagine. I'll be okay. I'm all right. But it just gets me emotional because, she was just a baby like yesterday. She was just a baby yesterday. And now she's a full grown adult. She's 18. She's going to college in the fall, which is kind of cool because she's going to not be far off from where we visit. She's going to be not too far off from us when we visit down in the South in the fall. So hopefully we can get together with her for lunch or dinner or something, and maybe get her away from school for a couple of hours or something and hang out. I don't know how it all works. Her school's a little bit different, but yeah. There's Amy. Good morning from Ohio. Waking up, I'm in the background. I love it. And Amy says, sorry that the kitchen drift up to the office. Sorry. Oh, I'm still in bed. Susan is up talking to the people. The people. We gotta love the people. Well, I missed you too, Amy. I missed all of you, because Amy says, we missed you yesterday, Evelyn, Evelyn, and Dustin. Yeah. And Mr. Rick is in the house. Mr. Mopar, Charger Mopar Rick is in the house. Darkwing Duck. Yes, let's get dangerous. I love it. Rick, how long did you go live for yesterday? I saw it was set for like 5:45 or 5:30, and then when I was getting ready to go, getting ready and doing stuff to go to my visit with family, you were still live, and I was chatting with you guys for a few minutes yesterday. So I have no idea what time you were doing the whole thing was, That's insane. The longest I've done is 4 hours, and that's quite a lot, because then you got to pee and stuff, but you get up and you move around and you go on, you leave the screen. I just kind of sit here and hope I don't poop the chair. You know what I mean? And Andy's asking, what's the temp in Miami today? And Eva Lynn says, good morning to James and Lisa and Nancy and Andy. You need to get out of bed, put Dustin on the big TV. Well, if he ever gets here, you know what? I'm here now. Let's see. Andy says, that would mean I'd have to get out of bed, and I'm not ready for that yet. Jerry's in the house. Good morning, Jerry. She says, whoo! Woke up in a panic, not really that bad, and yelled, Dustin! Reaching for the phone. Hey, y'all. Oh, my goodness gracious. Y'all are too much. Too much. Charlie's in the house. Good morning, Charlie, my friend. I hope you're doing well. Hope you had fun at the meetup yesterday. I saw that you were there. Oh, she forgot to get those digits, is what she says. And Amy said, Charlie, was so good to see you yesterday. I hope to see you in Kazoo. I don't know what's going on here. Andy, good seeing you yesterday. Yep, fully recovered, getting ready to walk the dog and then go to crush some kettlebells. Oh, my goodness. What's the Kazoo? I don't know what's going on. I don't know what I don't know. I'm sure it'll be down here in 12 minutes when I get down there somewhere. Sandy is here. Good morning, Sandy. Good morning from Florida. Are you down near Rick, Sandy? Can you throw an iguana at him? Can you do something like that? Just a drive-by iguana throwing. Can you do that? That would be fun, right? Did I miss something? Because Charlie says, "Welcome, John, to the community." Did I miss a John? Did I miss something? Because I don't see a John in here. I'm going to scroll back up a little bit. I don't know if I just missed a name. I don't know what's happening. I just pretended to know what I'm doing here. I'm guessing I'll be filled in later down here, maybe. I don't know what's happening. People are saying hi to John. I don't know who John is. John. Oh, yeah. Welcome, John, to the community. Okay. Never mind. I get it. Okay. All right. My bad. I told you I don't know what's going on. I'm an amateur here. You'd think I'd be a professional at this point. Hundreds of these things. You know what I mean? Hey, I was not on the toilet with talking to you guys. I at least waited till I was done. You know what I'm saying? I could have a throne built in this room and just work the piping. I don't know. Be weird. It'd be like idiocracy. Let's see. Yeah, and Charlie's like, just setbacks are just part of success. Yeah, yeah. Sonny is here. Welcome. Yeah, and Andy is saying the same thing. Failures are part of the yeah, but we don't like to fail, right? We like to be successful. We want to think that we can do it all. And that's what we want. We want to try to do it all. And then we fail, then we feel like we let you down. You know, we feel like we're letting people down when we fail, especially if we're front facing and we're putting kind of like not necessarily all we do, but we talk about everything that we do here. And it does feel a little disappointing because, I'm the one trying to do this for, what I mean? There is a bit of guilt there. Should there be? I don't know, remains to be seen, I guess, but you know, I mean, I am just human, but And Rick says, a lot of us who are real. Yeah. And that's what we want the most out of here is we want reality. And I kind of feel like there's a lot of people in the space and a lot of people in the chats in the space that don't want reality. They want to be shown that their perfection is obtainable. Where I don't strive for perfection and I never have, and I never told you that I'm going to. My goal is consistency. Can I be 98% consistent? Can I reach 95% consistency? What's my consistency level? You know, that's the most important piece because consistency leads to long term success. Whereas if you strive for perfection, you're bound to fail. And when you do fail, trying so hard to be perfect, you're more likely to have a catastrophic failure and just totally blow it and go off the rails and never look back. So for me, I like to think of it as if I'm striving for a percentage, say I striving, whether it's a lofty 98%, 99%, 95%, whatever the percentage is, if I miss it by a few percentage points, it's still not completely broken. But perfection is easily broken because once you have a slightest hiccup, perfection is no longer obtainable. And I kind of like, and back to the idea that I think that there's a lot of creators out there and a lot of stigma around, like whether it's carnivore or whatever, that perfection is the only way. You have to be perfect. Otherwise, you're just doing it wrong. And I think there's always something kind of, it's always that also there's a feeling there's always something more to do. There's always something more like, and I understand that because I don't think we're ever finished learning. We're never finished on this journey. This journey is ever evolving. Considering that my journey doesn't look like or doesn't look now how it did when it started almost, over 9 years ago or 9 years, whatever. I math. Okay. Um, I think that the space has shifted. Obviously, with the growing carnivore presence, and you know, Rick said something in his chat yesterday, basically along the lines of keto, and people who are carnivore may not want to follow someone who's keto or whatever. I think we really should be focusing on a wide spectrum because we're bound to learn something from somebody who's doing it differently than us. I don't live a true carnivore lifestyle. I have no desire to live a true 100% carnivore lifestyle. I have zero desire to do that. But I like to be primarily carnivore. I like to be mostly carnivore, but I don't have any kind of desire to be, just like, how Rick lives his life, just meat. No salt, just meat, water, and other incidentals he may have along the way. But that's what works for Rick. And I like having Rick in our community because I can see what works for him, what doesn't work for him. And he hopefully likes having me in his community because he can see what works for me, what doesn't work for me. Because we all have to understand that while we're all human, we're not the same. And we all have different backgrounds. We all have different goals. We have different perspectives. We have different wants and desires. We know, but not everybody wants to just eat meat. Some people want to have keto chow and salty, and they want to have, even the people who want to live and have the keto branded treats from the grocery store. I mean, if that's what keeps you going and keeps you on track, and I don't know why this keeps not doing what I want it to do. It keeps having her name here, and she's not here. Do you see her here? She's not here. But I don't know what's going on with it, why it's being weird to me. Let's see if I can make this big. Make it. That's not what I want to do. Anyway, no big deal. It'll be what it is. Anyway, I forget what I was talking about. I got caught up in something else. But let's get back to these wonderful comments and wonderful people here. Sherry said, "This is what happened to me to Jerry. Dustin is the only reason why I'm up at 4:30 on a Sunday. Now where's that coffee? Oh my goodness, you get here just to hang out with me? That's insanity. So early. Oh." Jerry says, "Must see YouTube as opposed to must see TV." Oh, that just warms my heart. That's incredible. And Patricia is saying, what do you consider failure? To me, it would be giving up and not learning from mistakes. Well, and maybe failure is a little hyperbolic, I guess. It's a little, it's a little not clickbaity, but I mean, it's a little like extreme. It's a little, it's a little over dramatic, I guess you can say. But I went into June knowing that I was going to have issues, but I wanted to be more consistent than I was. So even still, I was a lot less consistent than I was even planning for. And we had a lot more off plan things than just the birthdays. And while, again, it cements the fact that those events, while pleasurable in the short term, caused me so much grief in the long term. And you would think, as a reasonable person, that I would say, you know what? I'm good. And I am good. And I am all, and I mean, I slept poorly last night. And, and I've kind of been sleeping poorly the last few nights. Any night that we have off plan meals, I sleep bad. And then I have heartburn the next day, and that's not fun. And then, you have digestive issues, things kind of come back up, and it's not good. But we do it. But it's strange that food is the way that it is for us, because you could enjoy some of the best, most yummy food, and it makes you feel like crap. And I was thinking about this. I was thinking, it's such a strange thing where there's food that I can eat, that I get so much joy from the action of eating it, then I feel bad the rest of the day, versus something like when my preferred meal would be on a regular basis would be burger patties, eggs. I love that. And I do enjoy it. It is very delicious. but it doesn't have the same driving joy factor as some of the other foods do. But after I'm finished with the burger and the eggs and maybe some bacon or whatever, I don't feel bad. And then I actually don't feel anything. I don't feel hungry, I don't feel full, I don't feel bloated. I just live. And I was kind of wondering like how much of that feeling, the negative feeling, are we impacted by? Is there maybe an addiction component to that side of things? Not just the joy outcome, not just the joy, but also the regret, the how bad you can kind of feel in the middle of it or after it, then maybe for the few days after, depending on where you are in your journey. Typically for me, I have a bad meal. I feel bad that day, maybe a little bit of the next day, then I'm back to normal. It doesn't follow me for a week or 2 weeks like maybe it would have in the beginning. So that lets me know that, that my metabolic health is improved, and, my overall body function has improved in the 9 years doing and living this journey. But these are some thoughts that I've had this last couple of weeks where we've had more off plan, even, planned, unplanned things this month. I was, I wonder if that discomfort is part of the addiction process, because you would think that as discomforting as it is to have, or how as much discomfort as I get from some of these meals, that would be enough to get me to not do that again. So is there a balance with that? Is there like, okay, I get so much joy eating this food regardless of the discomfort I get after eating this food, but is there a part of the discomfort that's almost weirdly comforting in a way as well? Like, I mean, I lived my life in a very uncomfortable way for a very long time. It's no secret that I was severely food addicted and would eat large amounts of food and feel physically on a borderline of self-destructive, where it was, I felt like, if I rolled over, it's over. If I move too much, it's over. Now, even now with how I eat, like the other day we had pizza, and like two or three slices in, I was like, I'm pretty much done here. Whereas before, I would have eaten the entire pizza. So I imagine there's probably some things with like, with actual stomach size shrinking, because even if I'm eating a pound of beef and six eggs, that's still not as much volume as eating a whole pizza. And there's not as much expansion when you eat beef and eggs as there is with pizza. So when you're eating the pizza, you're going to, like the crust and all the bread and all the that's going to kind of absorb and expand in your stomach and all that. So I mean, I wonder like how much of that feeling is part of the addiction as well, because I lived with it so long. Is there maybe like a Stockholm syndrome type effect? And I don't know if any of you have come across that, or have maybe put that thought into if you've had that experience, or kind of where you are with that. And Brian is here and he says, "Good morning. Eat meat." Yes. Rick is saying here that failure is yielding to discouragement. Well, I don't necessarily know. I have to think on that for a minute. I don't know how I feel about that statement. I have to think on it for a few. Amy says, I struggle every single day. Last week was rough. The cortisol got me, 2 trips to the ER. I broke down and ended up eating at 2 in the morning on Thursday after getting home from hospital. Yeah, I mean, stress, like overwhelming stress, and you reach for anything that you can to comfort you is is such a big deal because I mean, you don't realize it, but and it's so difficult. Like when I get stressed out, I want to eat. And just being able to understand the mechanism behind that and I like to think that most of the time I can, I can understand it and move past it. And sometimes I just let it happen. I don't know. I think there might be some times where letting it happen is probably better. And I know that's probably not something in this community that we would like to acknowledge, but I kind of wonder, is it better to have a bad meal or to cuz I used to deal with stress with smoking cigarettes, you know, umpteen years ago. We're over 15 years now. I would, oh, I'm so stressed out. I need to go smoke. I need to smoke some cigarettes or have some alcohol or whatever. Or food. I mean, food has always been a de-stressor for me or something that I would reach for over the other two. But is one bad meal in a very stressful situation, would that's to me got to be better than lighting up a cigarette because the cigarette's probably going to be and most likely going to cause more long-term harm to me. I don't know. And these are things that I think about. And I don't know if you guys think about this stuff or not, but I'm always kind of thinking about why we do things, how we behave, why we behave that way. And some of it makes sense and some of it doesn't. Some of it, I mean, I know it's deep rooted like how our parents were, how my mother handled stress, how my mother showed love. We were a very food oriented household. And we grew up very poor. We're on food stamps and when my brother was younger, we had WIC and all that stuff. So, my mom showed love by making sure we had enough to eat. She was always afraid we weren't going to have enough to eat. And I mean, and I got that too from my great grandmother. I mean, she was born in, she was born in 1912. So you figure by the time the 30s rolled around, she's in her 20s, early 20s, in the Great Depression. So that's like huge on her. I don't know. She was living in Kentucky, in the hollers of Kentucky. I don't know how much she was truly impacted by the Great Depression. I don't know if we ever talked about it. I don't know. I don't know if I ever knew enough to ask. Can't really go back and ask now. But those are things that I struggle with. I struggle with, don't I give into those stressful moments? I mean, I guess it depends on, there's probably a tier level of stress. You know, are you handling the death of a loved one? Are you handling someone going to the emergency room? Are you handling your car breaking down and needing, thousands of dollars of repair? How are you, what are these stress levels and how do you move past it? How do you know when you should or shouldn't give in to those temptations? Should you never give in to those temptations? And I imagine the answer is not the same for each and every one of us because we're all vastly different emotionally. We're all different from our backgrounds. Like, not everybody grew up in a house like I did, or I grew up, house, apartment, but household, single mother, just me and my brother until middle school. My grandmother moved in. But those formative years, we would sit and we would watch TV. We would eat while we watched TV. And it was comforting. Just me and my mom and my brother. We would sit there and hang out and eat and that stays with you. I don't think you ever kind of get rid of that because I mean, those are your most formative years. And those are some of the best memories you may have of spending time with your mom and your brother and just watching, TV that impacted your life. Because we've talked before, like at least last week, we were talking about pop culture and how impactful it has been over the decades and how kind of that was a bonding structure for a lot of us, especially, Gen Xers and such with pop culture. Now coming into all these new generations where pop culture is so fragmented because there's not just 4 channels on TV anymore. There's 20 streaming services and YouTube and TikTok, and we're not all seeing the same content. It's impossible for us all to truly be seeing and experiencing the same content. Now, we're experiencing social media, but it impacts us all differently. Some of us don't use social media. And that was something that I was talking with my cousin yesterday because they live in Virginia. So she has her husband, and her three kids, and they live in Virginia. They live just south of Fredericksburg, Maryland, because I never quite knew in Virginia where they lived. I've never been there. But I guess they do a lot of their shopping and they do a lot of their stuff in Fredericksburg, Maryland. And so that kind of gives me a little bit of context to where they live. But they're not on social media at all. They're not really in contact with us, or at least myself, very often. So I feel very disconnected from them. I feel very out of sight, out of mind with them. So, I'm missing so much of those kids' lives because she's not putting it on social media because she doesn't think it's right to have all their lives on social media. And I understand, and I can't say that I don't agree with her. It's not the best, but at the same time, like with all of us so far away, we're missing out on seeing a lot of that because one, she's not like, it'd be, I guess if she was sharing like a Google Drive folder with photos, and we could look at photos once a week, or as she uploads photos, we could see those photos and kind of see them grow and see them being sports and do all these things. It would be a little bit better, but it's not the case. So I'm always kind of wondering, like, and then I don't get to see them for 2 years. I saw them I saw them at a wedding 2 years ago. So 2 years goes by and I don't even see the kids, I don't even know what's going on with them. So it's very fragmented. And my family's kind of always been that way. My family has never really been super close. Even when we were young, we weren't together all the time. And I don't know. I don't really know what causes that. I mean, it wasn't much to do. I mean, I know as in my teenage years, I was like, I don't need this family stuff, blah, blah, blah. I was too good for it. And I mean, it's what it is. But I have a vastly different outlook now and have for many years. But I was a stupid teenager, like a lot of teenagers are stupid. But, I think about that and I'm like, I miss out on so much. And then we see each other like yesterday, we from like 1 to 5, 1 to 5:30. And there's so many people there. They still don't get to catch up. So I still don't know what's going on in their lives. I know that, her daughter is going to college. I didn't get a chance to really talk to, the other two kids. One of them, he's like 6'2" out of nowhere. And he's like, I don't know, he's got to be maybe 15, 16, something like that. 6'2", just lanky out of nowhere. But, it's just kind of that stuff that kind of bothers me, but I don't know the solution. So again, I don't know where we got off of this weird tangent here, but just the idea that, I see you guys and interact with you more than I do my own actual family. I don't see my aunt very often. I don't see my cousins. I have two cousins that live in town. I don't see them very often. We just aren't close. We just never were. It wasn't kind of bred into us, if you will. Like we just weren't close. And I mean, they were closer with their father's side of the family. They spent a lot of time with them. And I mean, that's what it is. There's cousins on that side and, and such, but yeah, I struggle too with that, with the stress I try not to get stressed out, and I am very slow to being stressed out, but it happens to me. But I have new tools and understanding with myself to kind of understand and know when it's coming on, so I can kind of take control of that wheel. So, I know, like, do I give in and get chicken nuggets from McDonald's, or do I say, no, I'm good and just get a Coke Zero? See, Charlie is a gardener. He says, I earned gardening award from the city for the first time ever recently. That's pretty awesome. I love that. Good morning, Tim Hayes. How are we doing, Tim? I hope you're doing well. Thank you. Thank you for being here, my friend. People saying hello to other people. Saying hello to the people. Amy said, it was awesome. I'm having a blast with everyone. I laughed so hard this weekend. I loved meeting Nancy. We caused trouble at Andy and Susan's together. That's what I'm talking about. Cause a ruckus. A ruckus. Charlie says, thanks. Weird award to get, but I'm glad that someone besides my wife notices my flower gardening efforts. Christian Delorme is in the house. Good morning, Christian. Good morning. Bonjour, bonjour from Laval, Quebec. Yes. Bride's Biscuit says, a dude, things you learned today. Oh, I don't know what we're learning today. We're here. We're here. We're here. Yes, Evil Lynn is never evil, but we're going to call her Evil Lynn anyway. Naomi Jones is in the house. Good morning, Naomi. Glad to see you. So very glad to see you. Charlie says, it was great to get to know Nancy better yesterday. I was able to make use of an extra Stell CGM that wasn't using before it expires. That's where they expire. Jerry says that Carnivore Serena dropped a heck of a video. I don't even know if I follow her. I don't even know if I've ever even know who she is. There's, like I said, there's a never-ending supply of content. You'll never get it all. You'll never see it all. Bride's Biscuit says had 3 graduations this month. The youngest middle school, middle high school, old. Oh, yeah. I mean, I'm glad they came and did the graduation. I'm glad that they were here, and I'm glad I get to see them. It's just I wish it was more. Wish there was more. Patricia said, my oldest granddaughters are 21 and just graduated from college. I do feel old. Yeah. Yeah, I imagine. Yes, we see you, Rick. Hello, Rick. Good morning, Rick. Just 30 minutes late, Rick. No big deal. Carl's in the house. Got my coffee. Let's this party started. Yeah. Coffee. Yes, Rick, we can't see you. Not at all. Quack, quack. And Rick says, my longest live stream was over 8 hours. Whew, that's too much. That's too much. Becky's here. Becky, Becky, Becky. And Sean says, wow, Bride's Biscuit, that's a lot of change. Your kids must be spaced out like ours, 6 years apart. Woo! And Becky says, sorry I'm late. You have not missed a thing. You're just on time. It's okay. Wasn't Kazoo a character on the Flintstones? I believe so. I don't know if it was spelled right. Amy says, Kazoo in Kalamazoo, Michigan, we call it the zoo or Kazoo here. Dr. Kiltz will be there. Oh, I'll have to look into that. Sandy says, no, I'm about 6 hours from Rick. Are you close to that that yellow, what's it called? The bright line. That goes right to Miami. Yes, John is everyone's bathroom friend. We need a bathroom friend. Jerry says, I used to see Jane at least twice during the day, during at Dustin Day. All right, we'll see you again soon, Jerry. Evelyn's talking to Amy, saying when you find the coffee, make sure you put keto brains in it. Yummy, yummy, so good. Clear canister in the corner. Okay. I have not yet because we're just coming out of June, but I'm going to see if she'll try it. I'm going to start putting it in her coffee this week to see how she likes it. I don't like sweet coffee, so I don't know. I wish they would do like an unsweetened version. I don't know if they could do that. I don't know if there'd be a flavor otherwise, but I'm just not a flavored or sweet coffee person. But I can't wait for Chandra to try it. Bryce Biscuit says consistency is achieved by practice, and practice makes permanent, not perfect. As is common adage, there is no such thing as perfect, but striving for consistency is the healthiest lifestyle, in my opinion. Yeah, 100%. 100%. Thank you, Bride's Biscuit. I appreciate that. Very eloquent way of putting that. Yeah, Jerry says health is my goal for sure. Fluffy makes my body sore. Yeah. And Brian says carnivore is keto, just more restrictive of carbs. It's all part of the proper human diet. Yeah, I understand that. But a lot of people just really don't think of it that way. People look at carnivore as a completely separate entity from keto. And if you're keto, then you're not good enough because you're not carnivore. I think it's a very human thing, a human trait to lump ourselves into groups. I mean, we've been doing it since the dawn of time, right? I mean, we lived in small tribes for a very, very, very long time. And that's something that doesn't break very easy. So, I mean, you see it in, with churches, you see it with, I attend this church and I'm friends with everybody and we're friends with people who go to this church. But if something happens and you were to switch to a different church, then all of a sudden, most of the people at the old church probably don't talk to you anymore. And then you're making friends with the people you go to your new church, but there's not a lot of crossing over. Like now you're friends with these people. You're not friends with these people. It's a very weird primal kind of instinct that humans have that I was keto, now I'm carnivore, so I'm only going to associate with other carnivore people because keto's inferior. And I mean, I see that mentality a lot. And luckily for this channel, I don't get a lot of that because I mean, it's just not the way this channel is structured. Because my channel and how I want to see things structured here is the most people getting help possible. And I think whether you're keto, carnivore, whatever, any spectrum of the proper human diet, I don't even really care if you're not even low carb, if you're doing Weight Watchers or calorie counting, just coming here is a huge step. Taking control of your life is a huge step. Taking control of what you put in your body and being better understanding of what you put in your body is a huge step. And that kind of leads me into some of the things that I wanted to talk about because yesterday, obviously, there were conversations had, and it's always, I try not to bring things up at these kind of functions. And sometimes it's just so difficult for me because I truly want to help people. And who do you want to help more than family? I mean, I'm here to help all of you wonderful people who have become family to me. But I mean, these people are people in my family that I've been around since I was born. So you obviously want to help them, whether they're going through whatever they're going through. But it always is whenever you broach the topic, like I asked one of my aunts yesterday, I was like, well, she was talking about having eye floaters and stuff like that. And I was like, well, what have you been eating? And she's like, I don't know what I like. I was like, I know, but what have you been eating? She goes, I honestly couldn't tell you. And there was a little more awkward conversation, but it's like, It's like as soon as you start talking about something, and I was kind of wondering, do you think that when you ask somebody what they're eating, well, if they have a physical problem, something mental, like mental clarity, things like that, or anything, and you ask them, well, what have you been eating? Do you think that's too blunt on like a subconscious level? Because basically, I think if you're asking someone, well, what have you been eating? Does that put the focus that whatever they're going through is their fault? Do we think that that's a possibility that if you ask, well, what have you been eating? What's a typical meal for you? And the association or the connotation that me asking that question in connection to you not feeling your best or you're having, whatever issues, does that, or do you think that that makes people upset on a subconscious level because then they think you're blaming everything on them? And I don't think that that's, obviously that's not what the question is intended to do. But as we know, not everything that we do can we have or fully understand the consequences that come from those actions. There's a lot of unintended consequences. And asking someone, well, what are you eating? Is one of the unintended consequences of just that simple question. People think that you're blaming them for how they feel or how that you're blaming them for all their woes. And I don't think that it's a blame necessarily because most people are eating what they've been taught for decades to eat. They're doing what they think they're supposed to do on the whole. I don't think, I mean, obviously, if you were going out and you're getting Starbucks every day and you're eating a half gallon of ice cream every night, obviously that's outside of the nutritional guidelines, even sad nutritional guidelines. But a lot of that stems from complications from the guidelines themselves, and it leads to food addiction, which leads to those kinds of things. But reeling it back in, if you're thinking like, because, maybe it does make people put people on the spot. They think, is it my fault? Because we had other questions, and they're like, well, the doctor says this and the doctor says this, and they think I need surgery. And I'm like, and I was like, and they didn't mention nutrition at all. They're like, and that's the question that throws people for a loop. And I was like, well, why do you think they don't mention nutrition? And then people don't like if you say, well, if they fixed your issue with diet, then they couldn't sell you the drug. People don't like hearing that. So, and again, I can be I try to come at these things with kid gloves, but I'm not always the best at that because you're dealing with people outside of this community and they don't know what your goal is. They don't know, and I mean, they're doing what they think is right by listening to the doctors. She had said she'd asked the doctors about a few things and they had said, no, not, nothing. There's been no real studies or whatever showing that. But I'm thinking, yeah, but when was the last time they looked at the research? Was it 25 years ago there weren't studies and now they don't think that there's been new studies? Or there's so many questions. And I think to be in this community, you have to be willing to ask those questions and not just take the answer the doctor gives you. But the average person isn't going to do that. The average person isn't going to question their doctor, even though we should. We should be putting our doctors to task because we need to make sure that they're up on their research. Most doctors don't ever touch new research once they get into practice, once they get into whatever, unless they're in like a highly specialized, maybe some oncology doctors will kind of keep up on some of the research, but we don't know how busy they are with their practice. We don't know how busy they are seeing patients, how much time they actually have to devote to looking at the literature. looking at new studies coming out. And maybe we don't even know how well they can read the studies, how well they're willing to look into those studies, and are they just looking at the face value of the study? These are all ridiculously important questions that people just don't know to ask. And again, we are here in this community where we do know to ask these questions, but we're all in this. It's like we're preaching to the choir here. So, how do we broach these subjects in a manner with our family or people we run into or old acquaintances or whatever without it being awkward or all it's confrontational is what it feels like. Simple questions seem so confrontational because it's like, what you eat, what you think about treatments of disease and things, how you feel on pharmaceutical medicines is almost akin to politics and religion. Because even in this community, we all don't see eye to eye. And then there's kerfuffles, if you will, between different people with different ideologies or coming at things from different angles. But I think that's so very important in a community like ours, because if Dr. Barry had everything right, or if Sean Baker had everything right, and we wouldn't need Dr. Barry, we'd have Sean Baker, and Sean Baker has it all right. But it takes Sean Baker, it takes Dr. Barry, it takes Maria Emmerich, it takes even Paul Saldino. It takes all of these people to really kind of put us together, because while I may not agree with everything someone like Paul Saldino says, doesn't mean I can't learn something from him. I know we were, in Dr. Barry's live a couple of weeks ago, talking about Paul Saldino and how he looks at things and how he incorporates this, that, and the other. But it's like, you have to look at who Paul Saldino is. He's a surfer. He surfs 6 to 7 hours a day. He's shredded. He's jacked. He works out all the time. He's constantly moving. So the things that he's eating, all the fruit and whatever, is going to impact him vastly different from somebody who gets 20 minutes of actual exercise a week. You sit at a cubicle. You commute an hour each way to work. You're not getting a lot of exercise. You're just kind of coasting back and forth. His diet regimen doesn't make sense for you. Same thing with Sean Baker. Not everybody can eat 4 pounds of steak a day. Not everybody should eat 4 pounds a day. And I think that just because we may not agree with everything that all of these people say, because there's things that Dr. Barry says that I may not necessarily agree with, or maybe his way of presenting it to us, or whatever the case is. It's just an example. But I mean, it's like I hear people who get upset with Maria Emmerich, or people who get upset with whoever. You insert any name that's in our community that's a doctor, because they all have something different. They all have something different they're kind of trying to not necessarily sell us on. They all have their own groups. They all have their own people that hopefully are getting the true benefit of that. I think that, some people really thrive with Maria Emmerich, with her the protein sparing modified fast, and some people need a higher fat and they need a lot of fat with their protein, or whatever the case is. We're all a little different, and we all should be trying things until we kind of find what makes us best. And I think, right now we've got a lot of carnivores who are doing the, meat only, meat, salt, maybe some cheese, a little bit of cream, or whatever the case is. But is that going to be what they're doing in 10 years? Maybe in 10 years, they'll be adding some fruit in. I don't know. Maybe they'll have some more keto. Maybe they'll add some vegetables in. Maybe they'll add, who knows? Because I don't keto the way I do The way I keto now or the way I live my life now isn't how we started in 2016. Charlie hits it right on here. He says community is N equals one, case studies and friendships over improving health. Yeah, I mean, yeah, I think, yeah, we're all coming at this different. Carl says, we were never finished because we start with a double deficit weight, height, weight, lies, disinformation. It's an uphill battle to regain health and retrain the brain with truth. Yeah. And our bodies change. Like what I needed in the beginning of keto in 2016 isn't what, because when I was 400 pounds, I needed different things than I need now. I need probably more consistency now than I had a lot of consistency back then, but I had that I need to survive. I'm going to die if I don't do this. And that was a driver in it for me. Dustin, the ghost of Chandra, says, Evelyn. Bride's Biscuit says Dustin gets all of this. I don't know. I'm 40 minutes behind, so I don't even know what I'm talking about back then. But anyway, Carl says 39 watching, 15 likes. Hit those like buttons. We watched you at 4:30 from Alaska. It was rough, but I didn't get any sleep the whole trip. Yeah. And could you not bring your are there not a portable zero gravity chair thing that you sleep in? There's not a way to bring one of those on the ship. It may not be room, but I mean, I don't know. Oh. Jerry. Keto Simple Live Sundays like going to AA. My name is Jerry. I love that. Thumbs up from Evelyn. She says she's addicted to Dustin. Well, oh, I don't know. That's a weird take on that. Look at this. Guinea pig. Welcome, Mr. Guinea Pig. 37 minutes ago. Hope you're still here. Cindy, good morning, Dustin, and everyone in the chat. Good morning, Cindy. Jerry, looks like you are addicted to Keto Carnivore on YouTube. I believe that's Whoo, Jerry. It's just like Jerry says. Oh, you give me a shot of Dustin, your choice. I can't with you, Jerry. You're so funny. I'm trying to be good. Anyway, it's Sunday morning. You know what I'm saying? Oh, my goodness gracious, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. An espresso shot. Here, here. Patricia says, I feel like we almost have to go through a grieving process for the emotional side of sharing food with family and friends. Yeah. I mean, when I went to that party yesterday, and I mean, there were like these teeny tiny little cupcakes and like a charcuterie board, like crackers and cheese and, dips and all that stuff. Typical kind of like little like graduation party fare. There were meatballs. I didn't try the meatballs. I wasn't very hungry. And I knew I was going to eat when I got home. So I'm pretty good. I had a couple of crackers. I mean, crackers are delicious. You know what I mean? And they really are. They're so good. And I allow myself here and there. I don't buy them unless something's really going on. But I mean, if I'm at a thing like that, I'll have a couple of crackers. Nothing crazy. Pinkies up. John is off to church. Well, you're probably long gone, but I truly value you being here, Mr. Gugahan, and I hope you are safe and have a good rest of your day, my friend. Stacy here says, failure to me in my book is not reaching for my goals. If I lower my goals, then I'm not reaching for my full potential. Looking where lowering school grades to pass has gotten the kids today. Yeah, I think that. Yeah, I kind of wonder because, like, for us, it was, I mean, not to get into the grades thing, but, I don't think they even really fail kids anymore. I think you just kind of keep getting pushed along. But at the same time, I kind of wonder, like, how much does school actually, I mean, and I know we've got to learn to read and write and socialize. I think that's really what we get the most out of school. I mean, they were pumping us full of like random facts, like we were studying to be on Jeopardy. I don't think we really got a lot of life experience out of school outside of the socialization, learning to read and write. I mean, a lot of us are never going to really need all the English that we learned, like how to write properly, like how to write. None of us are going to write a book or anything like that. I think there's a lot of science stuff that we don't necessarily need. Not to say that it's not important, but I think the overarching school structure and that we've had for the last 100+ years is really just to create workers, not really to educate people. We're not really learning anything of any value. I look back at a lot of the stuff that I learned in school to find out that most of it was fake AF. I remember in fifth grade, and I know a lot of it's watered down depending on your age, but I remember in fifth grade, my teacher, Miss Purcell, she had this really great, we had this, I don't know if it was a couple of days, we talked about the conquistadors, coming into Mexico and all that stuff. And it wasn't the bloody, disgusting mess that she didn't sell it to us that way. She gave us, and obviously we were fifth graders. So, I mean, there's obviously some sanitation happening there, a sanitized version, but it wasn't that the conquistadors were that awful. It wasn't even they were really that bad. They were there to help. Or I mean, maybe I'm probably remembering a little wonky too, because it's been 100 years. But, and then I went on to, weirdly enough, at a job that I was working at a warehouse, and they decided that they were going to pay for some of us to learn Spanish, which obviously is kind of an important skill these days. And when I was in school, I didn't want to learn Spanish. I was like, why do I need Spanish? Because I hadn't been in the world yet. And obviously, you get to the working world, working in a warehouse, Spanish is extremely important. I used to be able to speak it a lot better like 20 years ago than I can now. But now I sound like I'm just learning how to talk at all. But one of the things that the Spanish teacher did in our class is he kind of went over not so brief history of Tenochtitlan, which was Mexico City at the time, and the invasion of the conquistadors and how bloody it was, and just one of those things like that's not what I learned in school. And obviously, even if we sanitized what he taught us, it still was nowhere near what I learned in school. But anyway. I think school, we should be learning a lot more realistic life things. I think, why don't we learn how to change a tire in high school? Why don't we learn how to truly balance our checkbook? Why don't we truly learn how to handle credit cards, how to maximize credit cards to our benefit? Because you can utilize credit cards to grow wealth, weirdly enough. You know what I mean? I mean, you can really leverage credit cards to do amazing things for yourself without ever paying any interest if you know what you're doing. But I mean, there's a lot of great YouTube channels on that. I guess if we were truly taught all this stuff in school, we wouldn't have a need for all these YouTube channels. Like I follow Graham Stephan, and he used to do a lot more informational stuff on how to utilize credit cards and stuff than he does now. But I guess, his format has to change to keep up with viewer demand. But, and Evelyn says, Patricia Hoffman, then you pull them over to the keto side because fat is where the flavor is. Yeah. Turned down for what? Oh, my goodness gracious, boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen. Oh, Lisa is in the house. Good morning, Lisa. Welcome. Thank you for being here. Thank you so much for being here, Lisa. I don't know, have you been here before? Please don't take offense to me asking. I have not always the best memory. I do, once you've been here a few times, I typically remember, but not always. But welcome, welcome, welcome back, whatever the case may be. Let's see. Patricia says, my son has tried all the diets. He's on Ozempic because he gets too hangry without it. There's more going on than I understand for sure. Yeah. Now, I think that there are a lot of people who are utilizing Ozempic kind of for, I mean, Ozempic is a very controversial thing, whatever brand you're on, whatever semaglutide or whatever it is, whatever we're on. Do I think there are some benefit to some people? Yes, because I think there's going to be a large swath of people who aren't going to be able to live this lifestyle. Do I think they're too far gone? I don't necessarily think they're too far gone. I think they're too indoctrinated and too ingrained with how they've lived their lives thus far. And that kind of change in a human is not always something that happens. I mean, we have to be realistic on a grand scale here. So I don't think there's no in my lifetime, there's not going to be a time where everyone on the planet's a carnivore. There's not a point in my lifetime where everyone's going to be keto. There's not a point in my lifetime where there's not going to still be major fragmentation in the diet realm and what we all consider proper human diet. Because in our community, proper human diet, whole foods, meat-based, meat forward, meat focused, if you will. And then you're still probably we're still decades away from the FDA even coming close to even recommending carnivore. Who knows how long we're going to be fighting the cholesterol battle, how long we're going to be fighting the saturated fat battle. We don't know where we truly are here and how long it's going to truly take. It's going to be longer than my lifetime. Maybe my granddaughter's lifetime, she'll start to see that in the grand scheme of things. But I think there probably is, as much as dangerous as I think some people being on these drugs is, I don't see there being another way for a certain percentage of people. A certain percentage of people are never going to do keto. They're never going to, or they're going to try it. They're going to do it for 36 hours and go, it doesn't work for me. I didn't lose any weight. I felt foggy. And they're never going to look at it again. But that's going to be their takeaway. Because we've all talked to people like that. We've all talked to people, oh, I tried it for a week and it just wasn't for me. You know, we've all have people that we talk to and they're like, well, that's just not for me. I like all these other foods too much. Well, I understand. And I'm not going to argue with them because it's not going to get me anywhere. But you have to understand you're not in the situation you're in, you know, because of lack of a semaglutide. You're in the situation that you're in because of your favoritism of all these other foods. And if you and most people, moderation is never going to work. We're not in a society of moderation. But I'm not going to discount the benefit to a certain percentage of people that these semaglutides or Ozempic or whatever the case may be may have. Is it what I would like them to do? No. Not even a little bit. I would rather nobody be doing it, but I understand why a lot of them turn to it because they feel hopeless. They feel helpless. They feel like nothing else. They feel like they're at the end of the rope. And we've all felt that before we got here. I kind of feel like maybe if I would, you know, I don't know if I would have tried those drugs if I hadn't found keto at 400 plus pounds. If Ozempic and such was being utilized that way and as mainstream as it is now, would I have done keto? Maybe, because I'm with a nurse and she'd have been like, we're not doing that. That's what she told me about, you know, as a nurse, she didn't want us to do weight loss surgery because let's try this. Let's try everything in our toolbox first before we go. That would be the absolute last resort, would be weight loss surgery. Now, that does not mean that weight loss surgery isn't for some. Of course not. Some people, that might be the only thing that actually truly saves them from themselves. Because at least with weight loss surgery, there is a point there is a stretch of time where they are on a very strict regimen to start getting themselves into a place that may be over time able to rectify all the things that they're going through. I don't recommend weight loss surgery. I don't recommend taking medications. I recommend a proper human diet, but I am a realistic person and understand that there's a percentage of people out there who will never try a diet. They're always going to go for the pharmaceutical or the surgical. Because why would they trust me when they've got doctors, telling them what they should do? Why would they listen to me? I'm not a doctor. And even if I were to go through, even if I do go through and get the Dr. Berry certification for the proper human diet, and I have 10 years of coaching under my belt, there's still no reason for a lot of people to listen to me because I'm not a doctor. Because we still hold, and rightfully so for a lot of things, doctors in a very high regard. But when it comes to nutrition, doctors don't know anything for the most part. I mean, we have to understand there's a lot of doctors in our community who talk nutrition over anything else, but they're still the exception, not the rule. There's what I would say, 30 doctors in our community, roughly, that I know of, and I'm sure there's probably 100 more, but that I am aware of, that I have seen, that I know who, whether I agree fully with them or not, and what type of doctor they are also has to be, kind of looked at. How many of you are watching the animal documentary? And when they had people up, they would say, were they a physician? Were they a doctor? What kind of, did it say PhD? And I can't remember. And my rental window's over. So let me know if you've seen that, because I know, because Dr. Berg was on there, and Dr. Berg's a chiropractor. So he's a chiropractic doctor. So yes, he's a doctor, but he's a chiropractor. Dr. Berry was a general practitioner. Sean Baker was a surgeon, is a surgeon. And, I'm not sure. I can't remember what Dr. Chafee was. And I know they didn't have Gary Fettke on there. They didn't have a lot of people that I'm used to seeing in these kind of documentaries. It was a very closed window of people in this documentary. And I know it was a carnivore documentary. So they cherry picked the doctors to be in the documentary that were carnivore focused. But they didn't have anybody from the opposition or anything like that in there. So yeah, I'm getting so far behind on these comments. Let me squeeze through here. Andy said, we made the Chris Cook in Nashville 92nd bread for the meetup, and we're having leftover toast and butter this morning for breakfast. Yummy. We're all awake in the kitchen now talking. Obviously, an hour has been gone by even since then. And so Rick, so then this is a normal response probably for some people as well. As Rick says, when he gets stressed, he loses his appetite. And sometimes that happens. And I guess it truly just depends on how your parents and how, you grew up learning how to deal with stress. In my household, we dealt with stress with food. We celebrated with food. We commiserated with food. We grieved with food. And in most societies, it's kind of that way. So I imagine it's probably less people lose their appetite when they're stressed, but Cindy said you made oodles of those breads. So Charlie says, if the source of stress is hunger and food is not a bad solution, right? Yeah, Lisa says, when I stress, I overthink food. Yeah, 100%. 100%. I'm the same way. And Jerry says her dad's year of birth was 1919. Mom was 1921. So my great grandparents were, my great grandfather was, the ones that I ever knew were 1910 for my grandfather, 1912 for my grandmother. And then I want to say I know my grandmother's birthday was 1932. I'm trying to think of my great grandfather or my grandfather. I think he was 1921 or 1929. I'm not sure. And my mother was 1955, 1979. So, Rick says, hey, all. I forgot it was Sunday morning, but can't stay anyway, bringing the grandkids to Storyland and amusement park. Well, fantastic. I hope you enjoy and have a great rest of your day, Rick. But thank you for joining us, if even for a brief moment. We appreciate it very much. Charlie says, the dark side has cake. Yeah. Evelyn says, going in a cruise was stressful for me because I'm wanting treats while on vacation, so I took Keto Chow and Keto Brick with me. I want to feel good and still feel like I could eat treats on vacation. Yeah. See, I think that would be difficult because basically you're like a cruising buffet, like a giant floating buffet. And I think that I would probably want some of that food, but I imagine that it being a buffet style, most of it's probably not as good as you want it to be. Like if they have macaroni and cheese, it's probably not as good as you'd want it to be, or things like that. But I would imagine there's probably things that were probably just fine, like French fries and corn dogs and things like that. And those things really get me. Like I went out in the garage this morning to close the garage door after Shanda was leaving, and I was like, boxes. Our kids had gone to the store again, which is fine. There was like a box of corn dogs and strawberry shortcake ice cream bars and like I don't know what else, like Oreo like ice cream cone things and like all these things. And I'm like, oh, that all looks so good. But corn dogs, I'm a sucker for corn dogs. And all the replacements are so much work. You can't just go buy a frozen corn dog that's keto or whatever. Yet, anyway. Yeah, Cindy says Storyland is great for the kiddos. Cindy says, being towards the end of Triple B&E and going to a great meetup yesterday, I knew I was not going to mess this challenge up that I had put myself. I ate brisket and deviled eggs I made using butter mayo. Oh, yeah. Even though I don't like deviled eggs. And that's okay. Also, a piece of carnivore 92nd bread. Yeah. Oh, let's see. Julie in the Pines is here. Good morning, Dustin, and good morning, beautiful people. You are amazing. You're amazing. You are amazing. I was going to talk about Nick Norwitz. He had put a paper out, an article out about seed oils, and let me go ahead and see if I can pull up some of this stuff about seed oils because I know that there was some things in here. Let me find it. So let's see. There's a lot of information in here. So it's like, what's this all about? Some people are fighting about which oils and fats we should cook food in, like French fries. Some people say that seed oils, so this is basically what I did is I took the article and I put it in Chat GPT to summarize it so we could talk about it a little easier. And some of the points I have it broken down like I'm 5 because sometimes Nick is a little hard to understand for me. And he's a little over sciencey, and I don't have any fancy doctorates from any of the places he does. So I'm not, we're going to go over this. So, like, people say that seed oils like sunflower oil are bad for you. Others say they're good for you, for your heart. And he's basically, what are seed oils? They are, seed oils come from plants and seeds like sunflower oil, soybean oil, corn oil. These oils have special fats called omega-6 fats. When you heat them up a lot, like for frying French fries, they can break apart and make tiny bad stuff that can hurt our bodies. So, what about tallow? A long time ago, McDonald's cooked their fries in tallow, which is melted cow fat. Tallow has more saturated fat, which doesn't break down as easily when it's hot. People say it's safer for frying. And people are asking, are seed oils worse than cigarettes? Some people say eating French fries in seed oil is like smoking. Why? Because the bad stuff from hot seed oil can hurt our bodies, just like cigarette smoke does, but not everyone agrees that this is true. But wait, some scientists say seed oils help the heart. When scientists look at a lot of people, they see that eating omega-6 fats might help your heart stay healthy and lower heart attacks. But here's the twist. Many people in those studies ate more omega-3 fats too. The good fats, we're going to put a lot of this stuff in quotation marks because this is a pretty lengthy article. So the good fats in fish like salmon, so it's hard to tell which fat is helping. An example, the sardine story. In an old study in Norway, people ate lots of fish, which has omega-3 fats, and stopped eating bad fats like margarine with trans fats, so they got healthier. But was it because of omega-6 oils or the extra fish, or both? So he says, so who was right? Both sides have good points. Seed oils can make bad stuff if you heat them too much, but eating omega-6 fats and nuts and healthy foods might help your heart. Eating more fish or omega-3s is definitely good. So what should you do? Don't eat too much fried junk food. I think that's one of the big takeaways here. And one of my things is like, okay, there's so many seed oils out there that you almost can't get away from. You have to be very diligent to totally get away from seed oils. They're in everything. They're in any kind of processed anything. They're in almost every single, like 99.999% of all salad dressings. At my local Walmart, the one I go to most often, you can't even buy a mayonnaise without seed oils in it. Some ones you can, some like you can get some at Costco and whatnot, but at Walmart, you don't even have the choice. So my thing is yes, we shouldn't be arguing over what's better to fry things in, because most of the things that we're going to be frying in it aren't great for us either. So it's like, if seed oils aren't that great when you heat them up really hot, and the foods we're cooking in them aren't all that great, then why are we doing it? Now we take things like tallow, and does cooking those bad things in tallow make them better? Marginally, maybe. But I like the idea of, of tallow frying like chicken wings, just naked chicken wings or whatever. And I imagine there's a few other things that I'm not thinking about that you can fry in beef tallow, like a deep fryer at a restaurant, that I'm not thinking of right now. But, you know, so basically, continuing on to what should you do, don't eat too much fried junk food. It's okay to use butter, tallow, and olive oil for cooking. Eat more fish and nuts. Don't worry too much. Just eat real healthy foods. And I know some of you are going to be like, no, need nuts. There's oxalates in nuts. I don't know. Oxalates kind of sound like the boogeyman to me. I don't eat a lot of nuts anyway because they're too easy to just eat, neat. Not even with the oxalate thing. I don't really know. But the big idea is not just about the fries. It's how we cook, how we look at food science. It's tricky because there's a good and a bad in everything. So I don't really believe one side. And I understand that as well. It's like, you can get water poisoning. We can't live without water, but we can also have too much water and have water poisoning. So if you want, I can make it. So basically here, like key missing or lightly touched details, the MAHA movement, or Make America Healthy movement, or like Make America Great Again, about eating better and fighting obesity and disease. And I still don't necessarily know how much that's truly in our benefit. I imagine it's on the surface for our benefit, but we know with politicians, there's always an underside that we're not being told about. So We may be getting products down the line that don't have dyes in them, but a lot of those foods we probably shouldn't be eating anyway. So, and basically we go in, connection. It's a big part of why people argue about seed oils. It's more than fries. It's about changing how America eats. And I haven't heard anybody talk about anything with seed oils in everything else outside of frying. I've only been hearing people, as far as the Maha movement, talking about, well, this restaurant's replacing their fry oil, but we're not hearing about Kraft replacing the soybean oil and the canola oil in all of their salad dressings. I haven't heard one whisper of that. So I don't necessarily know if this is all smoke and mirrors, if it's all just a ploy to get us all to go hoo rah rah or what. But yeah, and so basically also we're saying here is like how seed oil damage happens. So science word is oxidation, makes aldehydes, which can hurt cells, damage DNA, and maybe cause cancer. Example from article Who says you shouldn't get too much of a chemical, excuse me, a chemical called acrolein, but fried chips can have double the safe amount. So, I mean, this is the first time I've ever actually heard the word acrolein, ACROLEIN. So that's the first time I've heard the acrolein term at all. But graphs and data. So the article shows real science graphs comparing sunflower oil versus butter, more chemicals when heating sunflower oil. Studies show high omega-6 in blood, less heart disease, but mixed with omega-3s. Let's see if we can get into more information in here. So he says what he didn't fully solve yet. He leaves the final advice and the way forward for paying subscribers. So in the free part, he sets up the debate, but doesn't give the full do this, don't do that list yet. So we'll have to wait and see that. He has to make a living as well. He has all that medical school to pay for because he just graduated from Harvard after graduating from Oxford. So he's got medical bills out the wazoo, I'd imagine, unless his parents are rich. I don't know. Let's see. If you want an even closer or clearer for kid version, these batch, I would say fried debate. Some oils can turn into tiny bits when super hot. Okay. But you get the idea. Let's get back to some of your comments in here because I'm way behind. Lisa said, I have sat down and ate 2 bags of pork rinds when I was stressed. I guess you could say a high fat day. Yeah, I would say that's okay. Let's see. Evelyn says we got free small bags of pork and good pork rinds on the cruise. Carl and I shared a bag on the flight home instead of eating the airline pretzels. They are so good. I need more with your link. The downside with my link with that is once you've used it once, it doesn't really benefit. I mean, I don't even know if you get a discount or not with it. But try, if you get a discount, I don't get any fee. I don't get any kickback after the first time. But anytime you guys want to use my link, and if you get a discount, please go for it, or try to find them at your local Walmarts because they're going to be much cheaper. So my whole goal here is to get you the best deal possible. So, and that's the one thing I do like about Keto Chow and Salty is the fact that you can use my link over and over and over again to get a discount, as well as I get money from that. To where with like Pork and Good Pork Rinds and other affiliate links, I don't continue to get the kickback, unfortunately. But that's okay as long as you guys can find a way to get the best deal. I mean, I'm not getting rich off of Pork and Good Pork Rinds at all, or even Perfect Keto, or Keto Chow, or any of the companies that I have worked for. Let's see. Gazoo was in the Flintstones. The Great Gazoo. Shelly King is in the house. At least she was a little while ago. Good morning, Shelly. Let's see. Sean says, that's the only way I can enjoy coffee. If it's sweet and tastes nothing like coffee, I love it. I like coffee, flavored coffee with cream and butter. I went on my birthday and got a large cold brew coffee with heavy cream in it from 7 Brew, because they give you a free coffee on your birthday. And it was bitter and delicious. I loved it. Sometimes, though, cold brew will be almost like chocolate milk with cream, and I'm like, oh my goodness. Julie in the Pines is giving some accolades to Cindy. She's been watching her videos and loves them. I love it. I love it. I love it. Cindy says, I love that. I love that. I love that about keto and carnivore. That was exactly my point Friday night. I just think that even though we understand, I don't think, even if we understand that keto and carnivore are on the same wavelength of proper human diet, we still get a separation from those who are doing carnivore versus those who are doing keto, and they argue about it and they get onto each other and whatever. So I think that there's some of that does drive me bananas, because I think then it does make it more difficult for newcomers to come in and kind of learn. So if somebody comes into a carnivore group that's more keto and they start asking questions, I think more often than not, they're going to get pushback because that's not really carnivore. And that doesn't help anybody. Bry's Business says, Dustin rocking that with arms wide open ethos. I love it. And the family. There's no other way to be. I just can't look at somebody and go, you're doing carnivore for your health, but I do keto, so get out of here. That doesn't make any sense to me. Or somebody comes to me and says, you know what? I've given carnivore and keto a good old college try. I had to go back to Weight Watchers. That's the only way that I've really been able to find any kind of success, because I had, there's those type A personalities or whatever where they just got to do it that way. And who am I to say, well, you're just not doing it right? Did they do keto right? Maybe not. Did they do carnivore right? Maybe not. But they know how to do Weight Watchers, and that's helping them in the long run, right? Why would I go and kick them? Why would I do something like that? It doesn't make any sense. It's like, paleo people, they're not as low carb. They eat honey and whatever, as long as it comes from nature or whatever, right? Why? And if they're doing, if they're a lot of times, I think people who do paleo are active people and it works just fine for them. I mean, I'm generalizing, like very much generalizing, but I think if you are doing something that benefits you and you feel great, why would I not want you here sharing your story, sharing that you can be healthy doing it your way? I'm here sharing it can be healthy my way, but I learned so much from all of you, probably more than you learned from me. And Cindy says she's had eye floaters, so it's been messing with me for a while. Even went to the doctor because it's so big. Not the food for me causing it. I have them every once in a while. Sometimes they're kind of bad, and then sometimes they're just gone. So I don't know necessarily how much of a role food plays, but I bet there's some role in there that food plays in it. How much, I don't know. And for everybody, it's going to be a little different, perhaps. Oh, goodness. Oh, let's see. I get about family and wanting to help them, hoping they change their food habits and hopefully better that. Yeah, it's like, you don't want to insult them. You don't want to make them feel less than, but you want to try to help them. And I don't know. It's like, how, I don't think there's a good way to do it. Either they're going to see what you do and ask questions, or they're not. But it's like, It's so difficult to sit next to somebody that you truly care about and have known your entire life, and they have issues, and you may have a solution to that issue, and you want to help them with every fiber of your being. And then they just kind of look at you when you bring up something and they're like, yeah, I'm not doing that. It's just so disheartening. It's like, I understand. It's just like, yeah, I mean, as much as I want to help all of you, like there's people in my life, like people like I was with yesterday, could probably get so much benefit from being in this community too. But there's no way to get them to do it or broach the topic unless they really wanted to. And they would probably be here if they wanted to, because most of them know what I do. They may not know to what extent. Not everybody yesterday knows what I do. Not everybody knows that I have a YouTube and all that stuff, and I rub elbows with you guys and all that stuff, and I work with doctors and we are around doctors, and this isn't just some weird fly by night type outfit, you know. Yeah. So Patricia said that eye floaters get better with chiropractic visits, and Cindy's asking what do they do for that. That's kind of a curious thing I want to know. Brian says, first break, I have been listening as I work. I guess my personality is more black and white. I am either PhD or not. I am now a non-smoker and I am a non-carb eater. I am now a non-alcohol person as well. Yeah, I understand that. And I think some people have to live that way. Either you are or you aren't. But I think for a lot of us, there's a balance. I mean, I don't drink very often. We'll have drinks when we go on vacation, either, a very celebratory beverage or the adverse where you are mourning someone. You know what I mean? Someone's really gone, and well, we're going to have a couple of drinks because we got to get through this. You know what I mean? Yeah. Evelyn says, I was amazed that I could have cheesecake and ice cream and still be healthy. Yes, if I go more carnivore, I will heal and lose weight faster, but mentally I won't be better for me. And I think we have to find that mental balance, because not everybody is willing to give up everything. Not everybody's just going to be meat and water, meat, water, coffee. I mean, there's a million ways to do this. Because you can, and there's the people who are like, well, I don't even add salt anymore. Okay, cool, bro. I need salt or I feel like garbage. So I don't know what to tell you. We have to find out what works for us. And it says the phrase "you are what you eat" has been around for ages. It got hidden because no one wanted to score that fact for life. Yeah, I mean, yeah, I don't even know. I need a good chiropractor. I wish we had one in our community that wasn't Dr. Berg, or because I mean he doesn't even probably practice chiropractic medicine anymore. But just because I mean I've been looking at the joint place, and I know somebody said they're not that great, but it's like $29, and I'm poor, so like, so like me and going to see a chiropractor, they want $100 a visit or whatever. I'm like, yeah, I might just have a stiff neck, I guess, but I would love to get like a neck adjustment. Love to have that Y strap thing. I want to try that. I just feel like I could just feel so much better. And Chandra tries to rub my back, but she can't. And I've got one of those impact things, and I'm trying to. It's not the same when you do it to yourself. It's really not. Carl says, if you want a dietary solution, docs send you to a dietitian. Docs don't think or approach health from a whole holistic approach, right? And even there's a kind of there's even like a negative connotation to holistic medicine, right? And for a long time, I thought it just sounded like a bunch of woo woo, you know. And the more I learn, the more I think that there is something obviously to how we eat. There's, whether you believe in grounding or all these other things, or sunning yourself, you know what I mean? We're like, woo, you know what I mean? Like, like, and all of that stuff, you know what I mean? I mean, there's a lot of it, there's a lot of things about it that I kind of wonder, like, how much. is truly beneficial to us. And I understand, to me, I don't think there's any real drugs that truly benefit us where food is concerned, like dietary things. I mean, there's drugs out there that can help us, and there's procedures that can help us. And I'm not discounting medicine at all, but I think it being the first line, not the best. Sean says, this topic is really tugging at my heartstrings. My oldest said jokingly that he wished he was never born. He's very overweight, very unhealthy, and no special person in his life. He needs keto. Yeah, I mean, and it's difficult even to find a special person if you are so down on yourself that people can't see the good in you. You have to be able to know your worth to present yourself in a way that other people's will see it as well. I mean, for a good amount of us, I don't know how I got so lucky to find Chandra. I mean, we met in weird circumstances, and even the first night we met was a very strange circumstances. Those who know, but and she called me 2 weeks later, and it's kind of been history ever since. But you have to have some kind of confidence. You have to have something that brings joy to your life. And being overweight's so hard. Being overweight means, maybe you smell bad. Maybe it's difficult to feel clean. Maybe, like the little short I put out last week, you can't use your downstairs bathroom anymore because you can't reach to wipe. These are very real things. And just feeling being overweight, feeling unhealthy, the mental fog, the mental blocks, just not having the desire to be who you can be is so hard. And then obviously then you want someone else. The other people may not want you. Obviously, oftentimes we run into the fact that the people you want don't want you. And that just causes us to spiral even more in a lot of cases. So, how do we handle that? So, yeah. I don't know. My taskbar always just kind of starts showing itself again. I always have it on auto high, but it doesn't do it. But anyway, but yeah, I feel for you. I feel because it's just one of those things like you kind of have to start digging yourself out. Lisa says, I'm scared of chiropractors. I have an artificial disc, afraid they will break my neck. Well, I mean, I imagine that there's probably something. Yeah, I'm not too keen on chiropractors. I don't rely, but I just have like my neck. I can't pop my own neck, and it feels like I just need to pop it, and I don't know how. And I can't, like, I've been to a chiropractor a couple of times, and they'll pop my neck, and it feels so good, but it always kind of goes back. So I don't know. So Evelyn says, Patricia and Cindy, I used to work at a chiropractor's office filing insurance. I went to him before my mom brought me home from the hospital. Childbirth is hard on a baby. That was always a weird thing, like the idea that like I've seen them do chiropractic procedures on babies. And I'm like, that's just so weird. But I know like when our granddaughter was a baby, you'd pick her up and sometimes you would just feel her back pop, like you just pick her up and you just feel her back popping like crazy. So I mean, I don't know. And Sean says, I would love for my son to meet people like Dustin, Charlie, Chris Cook in Nashville because they would be a great influence on him. And I'm always here. I don't know what I can do, but we'll figure something out. We're here to help because I know feeling lost and lonely and just no drive for anything. You're just like, you know what? I'll just eat and watch TV. That'll be my life. And that didn't get me far. So, Bride's Biscuit said, my 18-year-old daughter's doctor said her cholesterol was 190 and a deep concern and might require intervention. Retest in 4 months. Just side-eyed and said, we'll see. No way I'm going to have us. Yeah, there's no real benefit. And I mean, I'm not a doctor, healthcare professional, physician, any of those things. So I'm not giving any advice. My opinion is they are not good for you. My opinion only. I'm finally on the big screen. Yeah. So Cindy's talking to Sean. It says, my older of two sons told me he was so frustrated with his health, he just wanted to do away with himself. I totally get it, but my son wasn't joking. Yeah, and I know, like, it's just so, sometimes you just feel like there's nothing left. And hopefully we can get some, we can get something going to where we can fix that. Lisa said, hi, her phone died. Well, fantastic, Lisa. I don't want your phone to die, but you know what I'm saying. There's Lisa. Good morning. Let's see. I told her to plug it in, and she did. Yeah. Karen says, I started keto and went carnivore. I'm not sure carnivore is perfect for me, so struggling to find a way for me. And maybe somewhere in the middle. Maybe somewhere in the middle. Maybe like vacation homes. You know what I mean? Sometimes you're carnivore, sometimes you're keto, sometimes, and it's like I've been kind of toying with the idea as well, like, and it's something that's been coming up is I've seen other channels talk about a little bit is we understand that never being in ketosis is bad for us. But we're just kind of starting to see how people are, everyday average people are living, maybe not being out of ketosis very much or doing everything they can to stay in ketosis. And we'll have to see, does that impact us negatively? Should we? I mean, there's like if we never have enough insulin in our, if there's probably an amount of insulin we require each day to make us kind of function normally. Because insulin's a hormone, and not just outside of the sugar we eat, but I imagine that it's a growth hormone as well. And if we're not making enough insulin or producing enough insulin because we have set our diet to a certain level, how is that impacting us? And I think these are questions that we need to look at realistically and not just dogmatically go, insulin bad, ketones good. You know what I mean? And I know carnivores don't necessarily think of ketones. They don't really consider themselves in ketosis because they're carnivore and maybe still think of the old adage that keto was a moderate protein, high fat diet, where a lot of the carnivore may be high protein, maybe moderate to high fat. And they may think that just because they're eating a high amount of protein, they're not in ketosis, which is probably, is really not true for the most part. You may not be all the time in ketosis, but I can almost guarantee you are. If your carbs are low, you're in ketosis a good amount. But, I just kind of wonder how to, where do we start looking at that kind of thing? So, yeah. Carl says, my brother in Seattle just before the cruise, he lost a ton of weight since last year. I asked him how he did it, and he said, more beans and portion control. Try not to be confrontational or critical. I mean, if it's working, I mean, and we understand the problem too is the focus on weight. The focus on weight trips a lot of people up because even in the keto sphere, the carnivore sphere, if the weight isn't coming off fast enough, then we can derail. We have to step back away from the scale. We have to step back from how much we weigh and look at body composition. How are our clothes fitting? How, are your pants getting looser? Have you had to buy new pants? Have you had to buy a new belt? You're buying new shoes. Yes, sometimes people's feet will shrink because they're losing a bunch of weight. Shirts, all these things matter. And I think we have to look at it in a holistic type of way. weight cannot be the end all be all and should not be ever a primary focus for most people. Now, there are people out there where if you're 900 pounds, weight is very much a factor in your survival. And you've got to get a lot of that weight off to be able for your body to do what it needs to do, just physically to pump your heart and your breathing and things like that. And even still, some people that are 300 or 400 pounds kind of see these issues as well, right? So, but with that being said, is we can't allow weight, how much we weigh, to be a primary focus. We need to be health first, overall health first. And once we kind of get our health sorted out, the weight will kind of take care of itself, right? In theory. And he says, we're all addicted to Dustin. We're all sitting here on the couch watching you. That's so weird. Oh, man, that's weird. I like it, but it's weird. Naomi Jones is in the house. Did I say hello to you already? I can't remember. I've been doing this for almost 2 hours. My apologies if I have already said hello to you. If not, hello again. Yes. Yeah, Andy's telling me this, or Amy's telling me the same thing. I'm finally on the big screen. So Stacy says, I see addictions in here. If I ate the plate of food I see others eat, I would get back up to 2, 3, 400 pounds. So I won't share their posts as I don't want to encourage that. That is healthy eating. So I kind of, she also goes into saying a different line that, that's what she does. Stacy Keto, that works for me. Yeah. And for me, if I were to go and eat Dr. Baker's 4.5 whatever pounds of steak every day, I would probably be miserable. I'm not 6'5". I'm not jacked to the max, you know what I mean? And I'm not able to do I don't know. I eat about a pound of meat a day. If I'm doing things and I'm where I want to be, about a pound of meat a day, pound of hamburger a day, 6 to 8 eggs, maybe more. I kind of use eggs as a lever for how hungry I am. And then maybe some bacon thrown in. And that's pretty good for me. You know? And Evelyn is asking Amy if she got her coffee and keto brains. And Naomi is saying, I work with many coworkers who speak Spanish. Been a lot of brushing up on what I have learned in high school back over 30 years ago. Even me trying to figure out what I learned and that that was 2002 to 2004 somewhere. I worked at that warehouse from 98, late 98 into 2007. So I had very remedial functional Spanish. Nancy Turner's in the house. Good morning, Nancy. Oh, why won't come on? There we go. There we go. Nancy's coming up here now. Good morning, Nancy. Welcome. Glad to see you. And Stacy says, sure, they taught us weird things, but did they teach us to listen, read, be polite, etc.? We need to learn the basics and trade school basics. I think there's a lot more benefit in trade schools out there. We're always going to need plumbers and electricians and heating and air people and our HVAC people. We're going to need. There's a lot of things that AI isn't going to be able to fix. And eventually, maybe those little Tesla robots can come in and fix things for you or whatever. Maybe we'll be like the Jetsons at one point. And we'll all have our own Tesla robot, Optimus robot that comes in that we have in our house, and it fixes stuff for us, and we'll paint and kind of move furniture around and do all the things that we really don't want to do or have time to do. As I'm not necessarily, so when it comes to a lot of the things, hopefully we can learn how to be polite again. I think that should be, make America polite again. Even if a lot of the politeness in history has been kind of fake. And one thing that really struck me, I had a friend years and years and years ago. She was in college and she came to visit us and she brought this German foreign exchange student. And he said something to me one day, and I don't think I was ready for this. He says, if you're ever in Germany, look me up. You can stay at my house. You can stay at my parents' house. You can stay at any one of our houses. And I don't mean it like you guys do. You guys will say, stop by anytime. But what does that mean? Call first. Maybe let us know a month in advance. Don't just drop by. Nobody, because that's not the American way anymore. I mean, even phone calls anymore. Why are you calling me when a simple text would have done? We're kind of getting in that whole mindset, and it's kind of weird. But this is like 25 years ago, he said this to me, and it's really stuck with me ever since. He's like, we mean it here. If we say stop by, you can stay with us, that means stop by, you can stay with us. And I know that, like, I've had a lot of you be very generous with your time and your space and welcoming me into your homes and whatever, whether it's like this, I'm on your big screen TV, or I've actually been to your house or whatever. And Chandra's not that way. Chandra is not a very welcoming person into our house. She's just not. And for me, we always love company. In my little apartment growing up, we always had company. Chandra's just not that way. She's just not. I don't know. She said that coming to the meetup was a very good but strange experience for her, because she's like, I've never walked into somewhere where I didn't know very many people and they all knew me. And I was like, that is weird. It's pretty weird. It's a weird feeling to walk into a room and people you don't know and they know you. Or like something like KPL, where I walk in and I don't know who knows me and who doesn't. So I just assume nobody does unless I've already met them before. But, I think there's a lot. We need to get back to politeness. We got to get back. I mean, we got to get back to treating each other well. And it's so weird that, like, we've ever gotten away from just being kind. It's weird how just be kind is political. Shouldn't be political. Should be kind to everyone. I don't care what you believe. Most of the time, I don't know what you believe. I'm just going to be kind to you anyway. Because typically 99% of what people believe has no real bearing. There's a few beliefs out there that really do rub me the wrong way. And if you believe those things, then you're probably not a great human. But that's a very small percentage of what we're dealing with. And not to get political and open up a big can of worms, because I don't really want that. I don't think this channel is really for that at all. But just goes to show that I think 99% of us are good people. We have a good intentions, and we know about intentions. They don't always go the way we want them to go, or people may not understand where you're coming from with why you think the way you think or whatever. And it goes a long way with religion and food. Food so much more than I ever imagined it could be. People get so up in arms about food. What do you mean? I love crackers. I could never, ever give up my crackers. Okay. Like, do you want to be healthy or not? And I mean, and again, that's not a way to be either. I can't just be like, do you want it to or not? Because some people can have crackers and still find a way to be healthy. I mean, it's just the truth. Not everybody's going to go carnivore. Not everybody's going to go keto. And I keep getting further and further behind with these comments. Jerry says, I had been away from the comments, the chat, but I've been laughing out loud hearing Dustin read the comments. Yeah. Evelyn says, Duolingo is better than any schooling I've ever had in foreign languages. And I've studied 9 languages other than English. That's awesome. I would love to know all the languages. Let's see where everybody's talking. Evelyn says, well, when I tried keto, it was under fear of death if I failed. It's a great motivation. That is, death is a very big motivator. I'll tell you what. Either you give in and let it take you over, because I've seen that happen too. A friend of mine, his brother, went in to the emergency room on a Friday night because his back hurt so bad. And basically, he was there all night. They diagnosed him with cancer, and he died on Sunday. This has been years ago, so it's not like fresh or anything like that. But, it's just kind of like death can overtake you, just like that. You go in with back pain, and then you find out that, and then some people just at that point, is there a reason to fight? Maybe there was, I don't know. But for him, he just let go. It's crazy how much fight we have in us. And I get that from our community every single time we go live. Anytime I see any of you in person, how much fight each of you have. Because if you didn't have the fight, you wouldn't be here. I wouldn't be here. So we have to have some amount of fight in us. Bride Specific says, I think the greatest danger of like GLP-1s is coming from SAD diet and relying 100% on GLP-1. For me, GLP-1 is just one tool. PhD is doing the heavy lifting. Yeah, I think there's probably a wonderful combo factor between the two. I think, and even for some people who are still on the SAD diet, maybe they're having something that they need out of the GLP-1. And I've seen people who aren't even overweight anymore utilizing GLP-1. And I think over time we'll see if that's the right move or not. But I think for right now, they think it's the right move, and we have to trust their instincts, right? Jerry says, my opinion, for me, I cannot lose 163 pounds a third time. Oh, I can understand that. Lisa said I had an RNY, a Roux-en-Y, 2006, worst mistake of my life. And I see that a lot. But at the same time, could anybody have talked you out of it? Was there any talking you out of it at the time? Because at the time, it was probably what needed to happen. Am I right? I mean, and again, I'm not pro RNY or Roux-en-Y. I'm not pro gastric sleeves or any of those things. I'm not pro those things. But I think there's a time and a place, and certain people may not survive without them. It might be a legitimate matter of life and death. So I can't truly rule them 100% out, because you have to look at the real life picture of human beings being humans. So, yeah, I need to go back and watch this. I kind of was on there for just a brief minute while I was waiting for a granddaughter to get here when Adrian was on with kilts. I'm curious to see. So they went toe to toe. That's pretty nice. I want to see that. Cindy's talking about how she had her RNY or Roux-en-Y in 2007. And Sean says, that's another good thing about Dr. Barry's Mighty Networks. It has a list of keto-friendly doctors to see. And Lisa says, yeah, I'm sure you wish you had told us not to follow the food pyramid. Yeah. Now, Lisa says she's only on YouTube, not on Facebook. We'll reach out to Cindy somehow and see if you can maybe get on her channel and talk with her, because it sounds like it would be a riveting story. You guys have a lot in common. At least it seems that way. Yeah, Jerry knows what's up. Please consider doing Cindy's live. Jerry, maybe I will, Lisa says, because food addiction is such a victory for me now that maybe my story could help someone. 1,000%. There's never a number of stories that's too many. The more stories that are similar, the more success stories, the more little pieces of nuggets of information that each person has is going to be so paramount, because you never quite know what's going to be the tipping point for someone listening to make them get their butt in gear. Because right now it shows me 65 people watching across 3 platforms. Hopefully some are listening. that may be on the fence and they may decide to start. You never know. I mean, that's why we do this, right? That's why we have this community. That's why I do these lives, because I know where I was 10 years ago and how I was basically resigned to be just like my mother and just croak before the age of 60. You know what I mean? And just have strokes and heart attacks and just be not who I was anymore. And just that was what my fate was until it changed. I was hopeless. And I was just like, you know what? This is it for me. But it's not. Very good. Lisa said that she will reach out to you soon, Cindy, giving all the information there. Stacy says, I have found passing up on the treats on the cruise because I wanted to feel my best was no problem. You have to make your choice, feel bad, have medical issues, or eat the old style food, stay, easy. Yeah. I mean, and I would like to say that that's exactly what is for me, but I don't have, no matter how much I do this, I'm still never that strong. I can do it most of the time, but there's going to be like, for me, like, I don't know how I would be on a cruise. And I guess it depends. Is it a low carb cruise or Shannon and I by ourselves? We don't know anybody else. That's going to be the big factor, I think, is keeping up with the Joneses kind of thing, too, for me. And so Bride's Business says, I've always found it interesting that Dr. Westman isn't very concerned about seed oils. So I want to say, like, for someone like, and I've had people, I've even had somebody say that seed oil should be the first thing you remove from a diet. I think seed oils is kind of further down on the list for me because it wasn't. I mean, maybe because I knew to get rid of the margarine and move to butter, and I knew that kind of stuff. But we were still having canola oil in our salad dressings and such, and it wasn't that big of a concern for us. I think getting people to a sustainable level that a stable, sustainable level with their way of eating before kind of getting too concerned with the minutia might be beneficial as well. So one mistake that I made early on when people would come to me and go, you've lost a lot of weight. What are you doing? And I would go to this long list. I would send them text messages. It would probably take an hour to read. And they'd be, yep, that's not for me because I was putting it all in there all at once. And I think it should be a transitional thing for a lot of people because if you put too much on their plate and you put too much in their peripheral, they're not going to want to do it. It's going to be overwhelming. Do I think seed oils are important and should be really kind of phased out? Sure. I don't think we should be eating those. But I think incidentally, they're not that bad. They're probably not as bad as we think in an incidental kind of thing. Like if you go to a restaurant and have a salad and the seed oil has some, or the salad dressing has some seed oil, but you do that every couple of months. It's incidental. Probably not. I mean, you may have a little bit of joint discomfort or whatever. Maybe you may be more reactive than other people. But I think if you can just get people to start as simply as possible, then you're going to probably have a lot better results. But if you start digging too early into the minutia, people don't care. The average person probably doesn't care until they do. So I probably kind of see Dr. Westman's idea here, and maybe his reasoning is different from mine. But just kind of getting people started on the right path, I think, is paramount, and getting them in a direction, and then maybe they will find out that seed oils aren't for them, and maybe it doesn't bother them at all. And maybe with a proper human diet, seed oils aren't all that bad. And this is all hypothetical. I'm not saying these things to be like definitive, but I think we've got a long way to go and a lot to learn still. We're kind of like, we're just learning to crawl here. We're just learning to crawl. We don't know what we don't know yet. Forever. We've never known what we don't know until we do. And I think for the average person not in this community, getting them started is the biggest hurdle. And if you weigh them down with all the minutia and all the side things and all the things they need to look out for. If you can just get them to eat more meat, more eggs, less of everything else, maybe add in some electrolytes and let that kind of start feeding itself, I think we'll be a better off as a society. That's where I think the biggest hurdle for us is stop the infighting between carnivore, keto, what's better, what's worse, all that, and just focus on the majority of people. More meat, more eggs, less of everything else. Throw in some electrolytes, maybe salt your food. And then once they start seeing results, maybe give them more, maybe give them a little bit more. Well, now, maybe stop, maybe realize seed oils are a thing. But if you go in and you are pressuring somebody you have to have grass-fed, grass-finished beef, ribeyes, you have to only buy from this single source, this one unicorn factory in Texas where you have to get it from there, this White Oak Pastures or whatever it is, and you have to do this, and you have to get the best, highest quality eggs. If you're not paying $13 a dozen for your eggs and you're not succeeding, we're never going to get there. If you're paying $30 for a ribeye, it doesn't matter how much money you're saving on medicine. People are going to be like, you are out of your mind. So that's why, for me, what's the best for people? Store-bought cheap meat, beef, frozen burger patties, store-bought eggs if you can't get them anywhere else. Just get started. And worry about seed oils a little bit down the road. Because there's a lot to contemplate. There's a lot going on with people who are struggling and even willing to dip their toe in this. And we've got to give them as much grace as we can. And that's one thing that drives me nuts about a lot of the communities, Facebook communities. Somebody's coming in and they're trying. And they're like, oh, I bought this. How is this? And like, it's got seed oils. You're going to die tomorrow. And they're like, oh, I can't do anything right. I'm done. We have to be careful of that. We have to be open, because if you truly want to help people, some people are going to take to carnivore. They're going to go, okay, I see the merit in this. I'm just going to eat steak and hamburgers and that's it. I'm going to have maybe some eggs. Perfect. Done. Some people are going to start off with the dirtiest keto imaginable. They're going to be eating bologna sandwiches every day with keto bread. Is it still a step in the right direction? Yes. Should you shame them into quitting? No. But we have to meet people where they are. And I'm never going to stop talking about this, because I think this is the biggest hurdle that we face as a community, is understanding we need to meet people where they are. Because I know, Rick talks about his duck food, and he'll never eat duck food, and pizza's disgusting, and that's Rick. That's Rick's world. That's like Stacy does Stacy keto, Rick does Rick diet. But we have to understand that Stacy does Stacy keto, Dustin's got to do Dustin keto, Jerry's got to do Jerry, whatever. Evelyn's got to do Evelyn, Carl's got to do Carl, Cindy's got to do Cindy. And you can even see the difference between what Cindy does and what Guinea Pig does. Things that impacts her doesn't impact Guinea Pig, and vice versa. So we just have to come at this with more grace. We have to learn grace. We have to learn to be kind and respectful, because if we want to help the most people, we've got to meet them where they are, and we've got to understand that everybody's going to want to start in a different spot to some degree, and you can't just overload them with information. So I think maybe, just maybe, that's why Dr. Westman isn't all that concerned about seed oils. And I think, that's a big thing for our community. Seed oils, no! By the grand scheme of things, millions of people eat them every day. Should they? Absolutely not. But how long is it going to take us to get that out of the food supply? Because it's one of the cheapest oils to manufacture, and it's in so much stuff. It's going to take, if we don't have seed oils in food in 20 years, I will be shocked. If I'm even still here in 20 years, to be honest with you, I'll be kind of shocked. But anyway, and Evelyn says seed oils affect me worse than sugar, and I found I can't eat salami because of my mold allergy. I can still eat pepperoni because it's not cured in mold. That's weird. I didn't know that. I didn't know that salami was cured in mold. That's weird. That's pretty weird. Ash Taylor's in the house. Good morning, Ash and Mel, and I guess Chris too. I love when they show up. They're our good friends. Mel, of course, Mel says hello. Tell her we've got treats. Give her a couple ice cubes. She'll love that. Lisa says, I'm carnivore and I love keto creators. I mean, we it's going to take all of us. I mean, to think that we're going to do it with just keto or we're going to do it with just carnivore is beyond naive. It's going to take every last one of us to make a major difference in what's going on out there. And we have to understand that sooner than later. Evelyn says, I'm ready for July to get here so I can see my amazing friend Ash Taylor. Woo! Jeremiah's in here. Good morning, Jeremiah. Oh, my goodness. Yes, Evelyn, we are so excited to see you guys here in a few weeks. Seriously, so thrilled. I love it. Naomi says, I had a floater from when I had a major flu back many years ago. Took over a year for it to go away. Oh, my goodness. Just looked over and thought you were gonna hurl. Yeah, sometimes I just have these little burps and they're just annoying. The joys of being on camera. Scott's in the house. Platte River Keto. Good morning, my friends. Better late than never. I enjoy that you are here, my friend. It makes my day. Thank you so very much. And Jerry says, I've said this before, when you can't get your own family group to thumbs up or like or comment, what are you going to do? What are you going to do? What are you going to do? Jerry says, my family truly does not want to be healthy eaters at all. And I mean, it's difficult. Making that transition is so hard. Even when you have everything to lose, it's difficult. I remember starting and going through we went through the grocery store multiple times, over every aisle, looking at every box, every label, looking at what has carbs in it, what doesn't have carbs in it, and being disappointed with all the things that we thought we were supposed to be eating that were healthy, that were loaded down with carbs. And, whether it was fruit cups to raisins to, quinoa, whatever this is supposed to be so good for you. And then you realize, like, a serving size of Oreos is 2 Oreos. And even if you could fit a serving size into your meal plan, 2 Oreos is never going to do it. That's disappointing. You have to, but it takes time to really there's a grieving process involved. There truly is. You have to say goodbye to things. And sometimes I think maybe that might cause some problems for some of those people who have to truly say goodbye to some of those things they can never have again. But I think for some of us, some of the successes we may have is the fact that we understand that we are grown adults and we make our own choices. And some of those choices aren't always the best for us, but we make those choices, sacrifice for ourselves for the long term in the short term. And maybe that's why sometimes I eat things that I know I shouldn't eat as a sacrifice for the long term, but I don't know. I'm sure you guys will share your thoughts on that one as well. I'm sure that's a very controversial way to look at things as well. Jerry says, don't get me wrong, talk is cheap because they will say to me, yeah, Jerry, I should be eating better, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, they know. But what their idea of eating better is probably not that much better anyway. Carl says, just to clarify, holistic means total body. Holistic includes all the woo woo. Yeah. Okay. Holistic means that whole. Oh, whatever, Carl, with your word, with your etymology or whatever the word things, the things of the words and the words of the stuff. All the things. All of it. Yeah. Karen says, I'm lucky. I'm able to get chiropractic adjustments on a maintenance basis and do massage. I need one of those like deep tissue, like, and I say this not in the way that people will think. I need one of those like ridiculous, like back alley massages where they're up there with their elbows and their knees and they're just getting in there, getting after it. I need that. Like, you go to massages and they're all like, I'm like, no, I need you to be getting in there. I need it. Oh, let's see, Carl. I'm laughing over here because the family will say to me that I am talking diet voodoo, not woo woo. Yeah, people just aren't ready to give up what they don't want to give up. It's giving up everything you love in life is difficult. You love crackers and you love ice cream and all these things, and it's hard to get. The idea of giving up those things is hard. And Evelyn says, if you're going to cheat on carnivore, do it with keto. Well, you know what? I have issues with that as well. So, and this is my issue with cheating on carnivore with keto, because if I want something, if I want Oreos, I've kind of come to the point where I might as well just eat the Oreos because I'm going to have less reaction from the Oreos than I am the keto treats, like the keto Oreos, like all that chicory root fiber and all that stuff is going to give me some awful gas so bad. And I might have the Rhea and all that stuff. I don't need that stuff. I'm going to say, like, if I really truly want it, I'm going to start just getting the real stuff. Now, is that dangerous? Maybe. But I know how I feel when I eat keto candy. I've never had like a bag of like regular real chocolate that's messed me up that bad. Like, I've had a bite of some of the chocolate that Shander's had before, and I'm like hanging out with John the entire night over a bite of fake chocolate. I don't need that in my life. And I kind of wonder, like, what's the deal there? Like, first off, like say, let's just just for argument's sake here, a regular bag of Oreos right now is like $4, give or take, wherever you live. $3 to $5, whatever, right? And sometimes you have those bougie grocery stores, they're going to charge you $6, whatever, right? And you're getting the whole bag, right? You go and you buy like a bag of like high key sandwich cookies or the Catalina Crunch ones. They're like $6 to $9 like for a small container with like 16 cookies, and they're gonna give me gastric distress like nobody's business. I'm paying more money to feel worse. And again, that's a hot take, and maybe you guys will all disagree with me on that. I'm sure most of you will, and that's okay, because I kind of disagree with me too. It's like I used to be like, well, at least it's keto, right? Well, but is that discomfort worth it? Could I just have the Oreos? Because I know I'm not going to keep Oreos in the house. I'm not going to keep a bag of Oreos in the house, but I will keep, in some cases, if they're on sale, a couple of boxes of the high key cookies or the whatever. I did find out that the high-low chips, those really good tortilla chips that they used to make, they don't make them anymore. So they used to sell them at Costco. They had the big bags of the ranch and the cheddar, like the nacho cheese flavor. They've had like the chili lime before. They came in big bags at Costco, or you can get the smaller bags at Walmart. They don't make them anymore. The company shifted and they're making other products now. That's devastating. So that means there's like Quest chips, which like Quest chips are like just solid powder. The same thing with like the legendary ones are okay. We actually have a video of the legendary chips. I don't think we ever put it out. I don't think I ever made a video of that. I don't even remember. I don't think we did. I don't think we put out. Did we put a video out of the legendary chips? I don't think we did. We made the video, but I never put it out. There's a handful of videos that we did product reviews that we never put out. The people just didn't watch them. Instead, people didn't care. So we would film them, enjoy filming them. We just wouldn't watch. But anyway, I digress. Yeah. Let's see. And that's what Dr. Barry says he does. And I mean, and that's fine. You know what I mean? That's the thing. Like, and that's okay. And I know PhD is more than weight loss, but for me, the weight loss brought remission from other things that got me off of 20 medications, including depression, anxiety. Yeah, I understand. And I think I just want to say, like, for so many people, the weight and the difficulties of it coming off is often a motivational factor. But also, I see so many people fail because they don't hit their weight goals time and time again. Or I only lost a pound, or I only lost a quarter pound, or whatever. Or people hit their goal and then gained weight and now they're doing other things or whatever. It happens. You see it all the time. So I think maybe weight for the majority of people probably should not be the primary focus. It should be a concern for sure. But it shouldn't be the driving factor of progress. Does that make sense? So, like, I know as you lost weight, you probably started coming off of medications. Coming off of medications was a driving factor. The loss of weight was a driving factor. But I think that's just one of those things. Like, I think that a lot of us fixate on weight and weight alone. Like, for me, it wasn't the weight loss that made me stay here. It was the mental clarity. It was the fact that I didn't feel like I was walking through sludge every day. It felt like I could actually, like, live my life. And even though I've gained some of my weight back, I still feel great on the whole. Carl says, to be clear, I like woo-woo unless it conjures demons and such. I draw the line at summoning demons. Well, sometimes demons are playful and they're fun, okay? You know? Sean said, raspberry waffles for a win. Yeah. So you're eating crunchberry waffles. That sounds delicious. You'll be fine, Cindy. You'll be fine. Your keto chow blood level is getting back to normal, I guess, until July. Bride's Biscuit says, I can't eat steak and butter gal's plate of food, let alone Dr. Baker, but I have energy to spare, so I adjust my diet as a visceral fat decreases, getting healthy right now. Fantastic. Again, it's a showcase of what it takes for each and every one of us to find success. And what success looks like for each and every one of us is going to be different. And let's see. Brian said, is Keto Chow on NYSE? If so, I think I should invest. Sales will go up in 2 days. And Sean says, P.S. I got my first retirement check yesterday. Woohoo! Is it like a windfall or like just like maybe some play money a little bit here and there? I don't know. I don't know what retirement checks look like. I'm still not retired. Well, kind of retired, but no retirement checks. You know what I mean? Yeah, Cindy has more keto chow than keto chow does, I swear. Evelyn says, still waiting on my blackberry this week, though, hopefully to make blackberry cheesecake pie for the 4th with blueberries, strawberries on top. Yeah. I still haven't actually tried the blackberry flavor yet. I have it, and we had planned to do a tasting on last Tuesday, but I didn't get around to making it. This coming Tuesday, everybody, will just be me. Chandra is busy. She's going out with some friends to dinner, so you'll just have me Tuesday night. So it'll be like Sunday, but on Tuesday night. You know what I'm saying? Hopefully you guys will still join me and not leave me alone to just me, you know. Let's see. Ash is telling Cindy that she sent a message about drinking coffee out of her Music City mug today. Yeah. Andy says she still hasn't ordered blackberry. I need to do that. I need to put a big order in for salty because our son-in-law needs salty for work because he works out working on big semi rigs in an unair conditioned bay. And our daughter likes them too. So I need to order a big batch of those. And Chandra needs grapefruit. Um, yeah. Jerry is on one today. I'll tell you what, Carl, that D ain't coming anywhere near me. Oh, Jerry. I love you, Jerry. Oh, my goodness gracious. Lisa needs to order blackberry keto chow. Is there any red raspberry? I think there is. So don't forget ketosimple.shop to order all your keto chow. Helps me out a lot. For your salty and keto chow, use the links down below in the description. Anything that you order, I would appreciate that very much. Let's see. Karen says, don't dismiss art, bricklayers, landscapers, cake decorators. There's art filled in all these things, plus more. Definitely need the trades, HVAC, plumbers, yeah, car repair. Yeah. Cindy says, I better be kind. I'm always kind to you, Cindy. Be worried if I stop picking on you. That's when you need to worry. Karen says, when I first met 2KK in Omaha, Rachel recognized me from the chats. Made my day. I love it. Sean says, the one thing I loved about the Navy, we used to just pick a person at random, show up to their house with a case of beer and instantly party. I'd love to show up at random persons with food. Yeah. And Scott is saying that we should all be able to disagree about things, food, or anything in life without hating each other. Yeah, and I mean, there's a small sample things of people who disagree about, like things you can disagree about that really does warrant that kind of disdain. There's things out there that we should all be on the same page with by now, but we are not. But, that's the thing. I think we should all love and cherish each other as humans because we're all fantastic. We're all different, and we need to celebrate our differences as much as our similarities. Jerry says, you better be good to me. Tina Turner and Cindy as a backup singer. Yeah. Let's see. Virginia Harrington, Sean, that's what Jerry did to me. She fed me keto for a week at her expense, and it stuck. Now I'm down 20 pounds. Thanks, Jerry. Well, that's fantastic. Thank you for being here, Virginia. I truly appreciate you. Thank you so much. It's amazing. Jerry's been texting me things. She'll text me a screenshot, and I'm like, I don't even know what I'm looking at anymore. Like my brain has moved on, and I'm like 10 down somewhere else. I'm like, what's this about? Like, I don't mean to be, but I just like. Welcome. Let's see. Welcome, Virginia Harrington. I'm glad you found us. Usually typing Keto Simple. Dustin making sure Keto Simple is all one word and helping is a helpful tip if you want to share after today. Yes. Oh, let's see. And yeah, Carl says removing Cetos has nothing to do with keto. It's just a matter. It's just for better health. Yeah, and I agree. But I mean, like if you're telling someone to completely overhaul their way of looking at all foods, the seed oil is like I would say start with the margarine, Get rid of margarine. We had pounds and pounds and pounds of margarine. Nothing like we do with butter. We usually have 12 to 15 pounds of butter in our fridge at any given time. But when it comes to that, I was like, yes, switch out the butter. I think that's important. Eat real butter. Try to eat real fats. But I think the struggle is there's seed oils in so much that can be overwhelming for people just starting to change from a SAD to keto. Even I don't think you're going to ever get a SAD diet person to truly switch out of seed oils. Maybe you will, but it's so entrenched in our society that it's going to take a long time. Jerry said, just got off the scale, and well, Cindy says, what the hell? That's crazy. Yeah, she says, hi, Jerry, I made it here. And I'm so glad you did. Missing nutrients and minerals, subtract the poisons. Yeah, and I'm not saying that it's not important at some point. I'm just saying, like, day one is probably not the focus. 6 months in, maybe if they've stuck with it and now they're starting to refine what they're doing, then they can start kind of, I just think it's all a matter of just kind of getting people into it. You know what I mean? I'm glad to meet you. Thank you for being here. Truly appreciate it very, very much. And Virginia says, I don't do a lot of computer things. And Stacy says, I think he said that it's not a ketogenic issue, but more of an added health issue. Yeah, 100%. People get ketogenic, they usually want cleaner oils, meats, etc. Yeah, 100%. And Sean says, just like my old country song, if you're going to play in Texas, you got to have a fiddle in the band. If you're going to eat at my house, you got to have meat on the plate. There was an article I saw, and I don't know how true it is, but I guess in Japan, somebody ordered a vegan diet. And they just got they got chopsticks and a banana. I thought that was interesting. I mean, like, you figure that, like, I mean, probably even like rice in Japan probably doesn't have some meat to it. Like, I was weird to know about the whole idea of the sugar being plant-based. I was learning something. I was watching Food Theory the other day, and I was like, there's so many things that have plant-based listed on them. And I'm like, but why does it say plant-based when it's obviously plant-based? Where it's basically the fact that, like, they process sugar with bone char. So they burn bones and they do something with the bone char to make the sugar whiter. So, like, I'm like, okay, I get it now. It's like, whatever, but still so much stuff out there that says it's plant-based. I'm like, yeah, it's from a plant. Why wouldn't broccoli be plant-based? Like, yeah. And Jordan Taylor is here. Thank you for being here, Jordan. I don't know if I've seen you before or not, but great points. Never let perfect become the enemy of good. 1000%. Welcome. I'm glad you're here. Evelyn said, when starting keto, I said I wasn't buying anything weird, no flours or sugars or even keto labeled items. It's not real whole foods. I could just get it at the store. It wasn't doing it. Yeah. And I think that's a good way to start. But again, it comes back to, we have to make sure that we are meeting everybody where they are. Ash Taylor's info in the house. Sean is going to see Ash in Raleigh, North Carolina. Fantastic. Rebecca is here. Good morning, Rebecca. Thank you for joining us. I'm trying to rest you here because I have it set to transfer you guys over to Coach Bronson and Nat when we're done here. So we're coming up on about that time. I got to see what time they're starting. I can't remember. Maybe now. I think maybe it might be 10:45. Daniel Patel is live right now. I love Daniel Patel. He's amazing. He does all the things Resolve, DaVinci Resolve. Let me go ahead and look at Coach Bronson, make sure I'm not going too deep over on their time. They are at 10:45, so we are not in their stuff. We're not in their stuff yet. So it'll be roughly 15 minutes from now. So we'll hit maybe close to 3 hours, and it'll be time to transfer over there. Cindy says, don't be transferring me anywhere. You know what? I'll send you to hell. Anyway, thank you for being here. So glad to see all of you wonderful, wonderful people. Scott says, I would say that you just have to know yourself. If you can have the Oreos and then go back to keto the next day, then perfect. If you have an Oreo and binge for a month, maybe not the best plan. Yeah, that's 100%. And I think that's what is truly big for all of us. You know what I mean? You have to truly give yourself grace, and you have to really put effort into knowing who you are. What's going to work for you? What's not going to work for you? Once you figure out what isn't going to work for you, then stick with that and know it's not going to work for you and don't keep trying. I mean, I still do stupid things like that, but you know, you guys know me. And he says people are starting to break up. There's a nap in her future. Well, I'm glad that you had a wonderful time with all the people visiting your house. Andy and Susan, Amy and everybody over there, Lisa and all you wonderful people. Fantastic. Be safe driving home, having wonderful nap time. I think I'll nap in my future here shortly as well. Okay, hiccups again. So let's see. Evelyn says, I have not watched your product review playlist. I have watched your recipe playlist. If you haven't watched it, you should. Super easy recipes. Even Dustin can make them. I want to know what your thoughts are on our product review videos, because we used to have so much fun joking and laughing on those. So let me know what you think on those. Should we continue to make more? I mean, it's kind of hard to do product reviews when we don't eat a lot of those products. But I may have a few more that I could edit. I don't know how good they are. It's been a long time since I made them. But just let me know. Keep me posted. Sherry is here. Good morning. Really, really late. Oh, my goodness. But welcome, Sherry. And then Rebecca says, I saw an interview with Dr. Paul Saldino where he speaks of fruit being okay to eat. What are everyone's thought on this? This has confused me now, as fructose is still sugar. So here's how I look at this, right? If you're Paul Saldino, I don't think there's an issue with eating fruit. He surfs like 6 to 7 hours a day. He's in great physical shape. He works out all the time. He's active. Fruit isn't that big of a deal for him. He's probably burning it off, whatever he eats. It's just not storing as fat in his body. If you are someone like Paul Saldino, fruit incorporation is probably not that big of a deal. For the rest of us, a little bit of fruit here and there isn't that big of a deal. Berries, blueberries, blackberries, some strawberries, whatever. Should you eat pounds and pounds of fresh mango? Probably not. But most of us didn't get where we are today from fruit alone. It was a mix of fruit and processed foods. If you're going to have sweets, I'd imagine fruit's probably the more beneficial over a Snickers bar. But I mean, you're splitting hairs, right? But I mean, how active are you? Because Paul Saldino will say, fruit isn't that bad, isn't that bad because he's so active. He's probably burning 10,000 calories a day. And I know calories aren't the end all be all, but when you're trying to figure out how much he's burning through, his metabolism is probably insane. You don't surf and be in the water and all that stuff for that long and not burn a ton of energy. So that's why someone like him, he's in peak physical health, can eat all that fruit. But if he stopped doing that and still continue to eat the amount of fruit he's eating now, he'd probably start to get pudgy. And Sean says, Dustin, I have a pension with my old company. I get that for the rest of my life. If something happens to me, Shell gets it for the rest of her life. They're in trouble because she's going to live forever. Yeah. Well, I hope so. I hope you both live a long, long time. Sherry says, I need to put in a big order of salty and blackberry keto chow. Well, I would appreciate that if you did that under my link. If you're doing it under others to support others, I understand as well. I can't be selfish in that regard. That is kind of the issue with companies like Keto Chow. working with so many great creators is that you kind of have to spread the wealth around a little bit. But I understand. But I do want to promote me, KetoSimple.shop. They have merch, all that stuff. I need to post some stuff. If you guys are interested in merch, let me know. I did finally open up my the communities tab thing. I don't know how to find it on my link. I know it's there. I opened it. I turned it on. So you can actually communicate with me outside of messages. You can share things with me on my YouTube. Good luck finding it because it's probably not easy. But once you do, hopefully it's there and you will be able to communicate with me in that way. Cindy opened hers up not too long ago. Let's see. Jerry said, listen, Triple B&E turned up the Joan Rivers in me. Can we talk? Anyway. Amy said, poor Cindy, I played a joke on her yesterday. So much fun, though. Oh, my goodness. Sherry says, my next door neighbor has been smoking a brisket for the last 12 hours, and I'm sitting outside enjoying the smell. That sounds fabulous. It's raining and crappy here today, so it sounds like perfect nap weather to me. Oh, my goodness. Cindy says she did not feel picked on. Evelyn says, Rebecca, my opinion is I like berries. I do not eat much fruits that are higher in fructose. I do eat lemons and limes and rhubarb. Never touch another man's rhubarb. But again, you got to understand with that, again, if you are a peak physical person, like you're working out or swimming all day or lifting weights all day, fruit is probably not the worst thing you could be eating. I mean, it's not that big of a deal if you're burning it off. I mean, it's when you don't do a lot of that stuff and you're eating pounds of fruit. People are saying good morning to Bacon Baby. Good morning, Bacon Baby. Glad to have you here. So welcome. Glad to see you so very much here. Let's see. Brian says, is it really necessary to install a staple every 1/8 inch when installing pad under carpet? I don't know. I can't answer that question. I'm going to say maybe. I mean, it hasn't come up yet, has it? It hasn't moved or shifted. And Sherry says, getting up at 4:30 has its advantages. Already cleaned the pool, dusted, cleaned the sliders. Slider from the wet water dogs, done 1 load of laundry, and second one is in the washer. Which reminds me, we washed a gigantic blanket last night, a big, like 10 foot by 10 foot blanket that we have downstairs for the couch, so we can cuddle up on the couch when it's cold. And it's, and I need to, now that the cats live outside, I can wash it and not fear them making it gross again in 2 minutes. But yeah, I got to put that in the dryer. It's going to take probably 3 dryer loads to dry that thing. Oh, yeah. Cindy says, Toby, transfer me anywhere. I'll do what I want. I'm the boss of this live. Karen says, hate to leave, but things to do. See you next Sunday. Have a great week on the 4th. Yeah, y'all's too. Let's see. Amy says, going to ask my husband to come see Ash in Greenville for our anniversary. That'll be very nice. Evelyn says, on the cruise, the only offered pineapple, cantaloupe, watermelon, mangoes on the fruit bar. Strawberries were only a garnish. I begged my server to get me strawberries and had a bowl every night after dinner. Fantastic. Blah. Bacon Baby loves this community, and we love you, Bacon Baby. Got the pork belly on the smoker. Gonna have a good food prep. We are going to the amusement park tomorrow, King's Dominion. I've heard of King's Dominion. Let's see. Need a lot of fun, a little fuel in the tank. Yes. Scott says, well, you guys have fun too, Sean. Glad to get to catch you, my friend. Have a great Sunday. You too, Mr. Scott, my friend. We're about out of here, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. I still have some coffee left. I thought I would drink it so much faster it was cooled off, but kind of choking me up a little bit. Evelyn's asking, what's everybody making for the 4th? We have ribs, shrimp cocktail, Ed might have an antipasta salad and keto chow cheesecake pie for dessert. I don't think we're doing anything. Chandra is her 4th of July is her day to work, so it's her holiday to work. So I don't know if we're doing anything really. I think we'll probably maybe do some fireworks, maybe in the backyard for the girl, but other than that, I don't think we're doing anything. They might even be going to the firework thing in town. They do a big firework thing in town. So, yeah, Cindy said it's tough to find. But if you can find it, say hi to me. Send me photos, send pictures, send cool stuff to me. Interact with me. I love it. It's like Mars. I love it when you touch the stuff. If you know what I'm talking about, you know what I'm talking about. If you don't, well, too bad. Let's see. 4th depends on weather right now. Not looking good for outside cooking. Amy says, I'm doing a smoker video series this summer. Maybe I'll do pork belly this week. Yeah. That sounds the bestest. Amy said, sorry, I've been distracted with all the good conversation this morning at Andy and Susan's. Well, that's fine. You guys are in person. You don't need to hang out with me. Clothesline unicorn. Is that what that is? Clothesline. Looks like clothesline unicorn. Beverly's in the house, by the way. Welcome, Beverly. Thank you for being here. Just about to wrap this up. Ash said, sorry I had to leave. I just got back. Excited to see everyone at shows coming up. Love this community. We love you, Ash. I love all of you. We're going to get out of here. If you are on your phone or whatever, you can have the option to cutting over to Coach Bronson and Coach Nat's channel for their live today. Just want to share the love with whoever's going live after me, because that's what this community is all about. Sharing the love, doing all the things. With that, thank you for spending your morning with me. Thank you for being here. It truly, truly means the absolute world to me, no matter how weird it might be. Ash, we love you. You and Chris, but mostly you, but maybe a little Chris and Mel, obviously. But anyway, I hope you all have a wonderful, wonderful Sunday. I love all your faces. Thank you again so very much for being here. I can't tell you truthfully enough how much it absolutely means to me to have all of you here spending your Sundays with me. It truly means the absolute world to me. And with that, here are the credits, and I love all of you.